A white dragon lands gracefully among a gathering of colorful dragons in a lush valley. A man standing beside the dragon announces their arrival, while a woman with long silver hair smiles softly, declaring this place the Dragon Kingdom. A young man named Raid is warmly welcomed as the story's beginning is introduced. The woman beside him gestures toward the bright sky, setting the stage for the tale of a dragon tamer. Raid and the silver-haired woman stand side by side, their expressions hopeful as the narration explains this is a story of good deeds leading to good rewards. A magical circle glows faintly near them, hinting at their connection to magic or dragons. The scene shifts to black and white, showing armored knights riding dragons as they chase fleeing enemies. The narration reveals the setting as the divine dragon empire, Lazaria, protected by the Dragon Knight Corps. Inside the country, dragons rest in stables, awaiting their riders, as the story prepares to unfold. Raid examines a dragon closely, noting its scales have lost their luster and its internal organs must be weakened. He reflects on the existence of special abilities called skills in this world. Revealing his family has inherited the dragon tamer skill for generations, he calls out to Faye, asking if he has been overexerting himself during recent deployments. The dragon responds with a low growl, and Raid realizes the dragon tamer skill allows them to hear dragons' roars as clear voices in their hearts. He complains that the dragon knights exploit them, recklessly overusing the dragon's breath. Frustrated, Raid declares he will report this to the higher-ups and storms off, while the dragon reassures him it's fine. The dragon warns Raid that by protecting them, he risks being called a salary thief by others who accuse him of negligence for not sending dragons to the front lines. Two soldiers mock Raid for getting paid well just for caring for dragons. Raid tries to brush off their insults, pouring a liquid into a wooden bucket, telling himself not to let it bother him. The dragon offers Raid a special potion to help him feel better. Raid contemplates how the sky dragons, passed down from his late family, will be overworked by the dragon knights if things continue. The dragon advises him not to dwell on it too much, warning that resistance will only end in vain. Raid looks determined but troubled as he faces the dragon in the stable. Dragons eagerly call out to Raid, demanding his homemade potion and asking him to change their straw bedding. They insist he still has work to do, crowding around him with hopeful voices. Raid grimaces, rubbing his head as he thinks about the 50 dragons he'll likely be working overtime for until midnight again. Despite the exhaustion, a gentle smile crosses his face as he resolves that he can keep going because he's with the sky dragons. Suddenly, a voice calls Raid, informing him that His Majesty is summoning him. Raid admits he pulled an all-nighter before entering the Grand Hall, where a crowd gathers before the throne. The 37th Emperor of Lazaria commands Raid Dryson to bow before him. Kneeling before the throne, Raid hears the Emperor's cold dismissal. Raid, as of today, you are dismissed. The weight of the words hangs heavy as Raid remains bowed in silence. Raid freezes in shock as the Emperor coldly declares the nation's sky dragons obedient and claims anyone can care for them. The Emperor dismisses Raid as nothing more than a salary thief, mocking his bond with the dragons as foolishness. Raid protests with all due respect, but the Emperor insists his care was the only reason the dragons remained docile until now. The Emperor shouts that there's no such thing as conversing with dragons, calling Raid incompetent and a waste of money. His advisors agree, suggesting they'd be better off acquiring new sky dragons. Raid's inner voice condemns their ignorance, questioning how an empire sustained by dragon knights could lack proper knowledge about sky dragons. The Emperor accuses Raid of false reports and negligence of duty. He declares that although he would normally sentence Raid to death, he will not defile the Empire's soil with his blood. Instead, Raid is banished from the Empire. Raid kneels, stunned and speechless. Alone and kneeling, Raid's thoughts turn inward. He reflects on the sudden death of the former Emperor and his son's succession, the replacement of the Chancellor, and the close friendship between his late father, a dragon tamer caretaker, and the previous Emperor. He wonders if they were all conspiring together. As court nobles whisper and laugh behind their hands, the weight of betrayal and conspiracy presses down on him. Under the moonlit sky, guards escort Raid away as he lies unconscious on the ground. His wide eyes snap open with shock as a harsh voice commands him never to set foot on the Empire's soil again. Raid approaches the dragon's enclosure, knocking on the door and apologizing for the late hour. The dragons ask what he wants, and he reveals he was dismissed as a caretaker, his fist clenched tightly in frustration. He struggles to accept his exile, calling it a joke. The dragons urge him to ride them and escape, promising to help by causing havoc and ordering him to unlock the chains and open the doors immediately. He pleads for calm, warning that if they act rashly, all will be executed. He explains the anti-dragon barriers would kill many, and even if freed, he cannot risk the lives of the dragons he and his father raised. A dragon calls his name, emphasizing the gravity of the situation. The dragons ask if this means they'll never see him again, their voices heavy with sorrow. Raid's lips press into a thin line as he looks up, his expression firm but pained. He quietly tells them, "Everyone, thank you for everything up until now, stay well." Two dragons watch silently as Raid slips away through a door. He steels himself, thinking, "Don't stop now, for Faye and the others' sake. I can't let them grieve any further." Guards nearby react in alarm to a sudden noise, demanding to know what it was. Raid pulls his cloak tighter as he moves swiftly. Raid runs under the night sky, a glowing aura surrounding him as a dragon soars above. He swears to escape no matter what. The city fades behind him, swallowed by the darkness and trees. A soft voice calls his name, Raid. Deep in Walren's great forest, Raid crouches behind a tree, catching his breath. He recalls training here with his father and knows the forest's twisted paths well. He resolves this as the place to shake off his pursuers, aware that without following the predetermined path, he'll only end up back where he started. Hidden behind a tree, Raid freezes as he spots a glowing figure in the forest. The radiant woman steps forward, her ethereal presence making her seem like a fairy of the moon. Alarmed, Raid worries aloud that standing alone here will make her an easy target for monsters. He rushes toward her, calling out in concern as she remains unaware. Her long hair flowing behind her. The forest around them feels tense, the danger imminent. The woman suddenly turns, her eyes wide with surprise as she softly gasps. Raid approaches cautiously, still unsure of who she is but drawn to her beauty and presence. Their eyes meet, the woman smiling gently while Raid looks back, stunned and speechless. A silent question lingers between them. Who is this beautiful girl staring at Raid? The glowing woman stands serenely in the forest, her gentle smile captivating as she faces the cloaked figure. The man watches her silently, his thoughts swirling with confusion and curiosity. He wonders aloud who this mysterious girl truly is, his gaze fixed on her as she steps lightly from the shadows. Suddenly, a massive, snarling beast, a high kobold, lunges from the trees behind her, its roar shaking the forest. The woman reacts with shock, but before she can move, the cloaked man steps forward defiantly, shouting that he won't let the creature harm her. The man channels his power, invoking a sealing spell. Chains of light shoot forth, wrapping tightly around the kobold's massive form, binding it with magical force. The beast struggles fiercely, roaring in frustration as the chains hold firm, unable to break free. With a fierce cry, the man lunges forward, stabbing the chained kobold in the chest. The creature howls in pain, blood spurting from the wound as it collapses. The woman watches in awe, her eyes wide and sparkling as she softly murmurs how amazing the man's skill is. He downplays his sealing spell, explaining his clan mastered such arts to restrain dragons on rampages. The dragon-binding chains conceal even the strongest monsters, including dragons themselves, immobilizing them instantly. The girl approaches, asking if he's hurt, but he's confused, wondering how a cute girl like her could be connected to a man drowning in overtime like himself. She insists he saved her again, leaving him puzzled. She claims it's natural he doesn't recognize her, then offers to show him a form he might remember. As she steps forward, magic circles appear beneath them. He questions the form, and she reveals a highly advanced transformation magic. Walking on 4 legs, wings sprouting independently, ignoring mass and volume. His eyes widen as he beholds the pinnacle of dragonkind. An ancient dragon, living since ancient times. The majestic creature stands before him, its scales shining with a gem on its chest. He recalls the dragons of the Empire called sky dragons, a relatively newly evolved type, but meeting an ancient dragon is rare. He wonders if this is the ancient dragon he saved 3 years ago, staring up in awe at the towering figure before him. Luna admits she delayed her introduction, revealing her name to be Luna and addressing Raid as Dragon Tamer. He asks who told her about his plight, and she replies it was their kin. The sky dragons he raised like family in the Empire. Raid reacts with surprise, realizing someone informed her. Raid wonders how everyone in the dragon stables managed to communicate this, and Luna explains they placed their voices into their roars and delivered them to her. She praises Raid's sincerity toward dragons as admirable. He reflects that the dragon tamer skill allows him to understand roars or growls directed at him. Realizing the roar was meant for Luna, he also mentions hearing the term dragon princess, and asks if it refers to her. Luna confirms she is indeed the dragon princess, daughter of the dragon king. Raid contemplates the words, recalling his father once said ancient dragons have royalty who unite dragonkind. He never imagined seeing one with his own eyes. The thought strikes him that fate is strange indeed, as the one he saved 3 years ago was the dragon princess. Luna explains that at the time Raid saved her, her throat was swollen from illness, so she couldn't express her gratitude. She asks him to come with her to the Dragon Nation, where the ancient dragons dwell, to repay the debt of being saved, and because the ancient dragons need his power. Raid, still uncertain about his next steps, reaches out, willing to follow her. Raid places a hand gently on Luna's snout, telling her he will be counting on her. The dragon's wing unfurls as the night sky fills with stars. He asks if she is ready, and Luna replies with a confident yes. Inside a grand, ornate room adorned with dragon motifs, a king holds a glass of wine and a document. He smiles, thinking that now the excessive salary he paid Raid can finally be spent on his hobby of buying sky dragons. The king's expression shifts to shock as he suddenly spills his wine. A worried attendant rushes in, urgently informing the king that this is grave. The king hears that Raid must have already been silenced by pursuers sent after him. A tense advisor stammers the word treason. The king demands whoever is responsible be found and the dragon knights summoned to suppress the threat quickly. Suddenly, a dark, ominous smoke or energy bursts into the room, filling the space with a menacing presence. A massive, flaming dragon head materializes in the grand room, its fierce eyes locked on the king, who freezes in shock and fear. The king stammers, unable to speak, as the dragon's presence fills the space. Outside, numerous dragons gather around a portal. Their wings spread wide, and one voice whispers in disbelief, "No way." The dragon lets out a deafening roar, its jaws wide open in a terrifying display. Dragons take flight, their wings beating powerfully as they descend toward the castle. The ground shakes as the dragons approach, sending soldiers scrambling to evade the oncoming threat. The king commands urgently to restrain the dragons with the dragon knights immediately, but an advisor warns that the sky dragons refuse to let the knights mount them. The king, sweating nervously, insists he is the ruler of the empire. The dragon mounted on the wall growls, explaining that their keen ears have overheard the castle's conversations. The dragons accuse the king of casting out Raid, who was like family, and seeking his life, declaring this attack as retribution. The dragon lunges forward with a powerful strike, sending the king flying through the air. The king screams in terror as the dragon's jaws snap shut near him, urging him to savor the moment to his heart's content. The sky fills with ferocious dragons descending on the castle, their powerful presence shaking the ground. A figure lies injured, and a voice wonders why Raid was holding back these wild sky dragons alone. The question lingers. Why did the sky dragons suddenly go wild? Luna asks Raid if his decision to come to the Dragon Nation means he has chosen her as his partner. Raid, surprised, questions the meaning of partner. Luna insists she is not a dragon knight and cannot be an official partner, teasing Raid about taming her since he saved her 3 years ago without formally choosing her. Raid reflects on the meaning of tame, to place a target under one's influence and control, and questions if taming an ancient dragon like Luna is even possible. Luna reminds him that he forced her into being tamed and bound against her will, keeping her tamed for 3 years. Even if it was for healing, Raid is shocked by this realization. Luna explains that a tamed target can hardly disobey its master's orders. Raid apologizes, promising to release her immediately, feeling remorse for making her feel awful. Luna understands the taming was to save her life but insists it won't be necessary. She acknowledges that taming an ancient dragon is impossible for ordinary humans, but as a tamer of Raid's caliber, she has no complaints. She thought Raid would hate it much more. Luna explains that while in her tamed state, her flight ability greatly increased when Raid rode on her back. She feels her strength grow when he is near, and releasing the taming now would weaken her, which would be troublesome. She smiles warmly, teasing Raid that he will take responsibility for binding her for 3 years. Raid closes his eyes, realizing he found himself wishing for this without thinking. He recalls Luna's smile but senses a strange pressure, knowing if he clumsily refuses, she might look sad again. He reflects that ancient dragons value strength, which surely explains why she can accept being tamed. Luna welcomes Raid to the Dragon Nation, the homeland of his partner, as dragons gather around them in a peaceful clearing. They arrive in the land of dragons, greeted warmly by a woman and several dragons. The woman welcomes Raid to the land of dragons, and a dragon loudly announces to everyone that the princess has brought back a human man. Inside a cavern, dragons whisper about Raid, recalling the princess's stories about him. The woman scolds the dragons for their curiosity. Raid formally announces his return, and a shadowed figure acknowledges it. Noting this is the man they've heard about. A massive dragon introduces himself as Alburn, ruler of the land and dragon king. He welcomes Raid as a descendant of the dragon tamers and savior of his daughter. Raid is overwhelmed by Alburn's presence, visibly startled. Raid nervously introduces himself and thanks Albern for sheltering him. Albern acknowledges Raid's deeds healing his daughter and tending to the sky dragons in the Empire. Saying he cannot overlook someone like him, Albern dismisses formalities and instructs Raid to rest, while the woman gestures for him to follow her. Raid kneels before the Dragon King, asking permission to touch his scales. The Dragon King consents, and Raid carefully places his hands on the massive scales. The woman beside Raid asks what he is doing, and he politely apologizes as he begins to touch the dragon. As Raid presses his hands to the dragon's scales, they begin to shimmer and regain their shine. The woman watches in awe, exclaiming, "Wow!" Raid explains that compared to other elder dragons, the Dragon King's scales had less luster, so he suspected the flow of magic was poor. The scales are now visibly shining, confirming Raid's insight. The Dragon King, now glowing with restored vitality, thanks Raid for his care despite having little time to rest. The woman explains that the technique to heal an elder dragon's body is incredible power but ordinary for Raid, which makes her happy because it defines what it means to be a dragon tamer. The woman recalls how the Empire once called Raid a salary thief. Shocked by the insult, she now realizes the Empire severely underestimated Raid's power. Affirming there is no tamer more capable than him, she questions what the Empire could have been thinking as they walk together, her conviction renewed. Raid walks alongside the woman toward a vast area near a waterfall where dragons rest peacefully. She tells him that his new home lies just ahead. He reflects quietly, wishing he could have given Faye and the sky dragons such a spacious life. They arrive at a colossal tree with numerous small houses built into its branches. Raid marvels at the many small homes and wonders if other races besides elder dragons live here. Inside the tree, Raid notices humanoid figures with cat ears and tails. The woman explains they belong to the cat spirit tribe, a mysterious beastfolk close to spirits. Though they cannot use magic, they possess explosive physical strength. Raid recalls hearing they were thought extinct. The woman greets them as princess, catching Raid's attention. A cheerful girl with cat ears and a flower in her hair runs up, waving energetically and asking what brings them here today. Raid and the woman exchange a surprised look as the girl's lively greeting fills the air. The cat-eared girl excitedly exclaims that a human is here, her eyes sparkling with enthusiasm. The woman introduces Raid as the human she mentioned earlier. The girl, Roanna, explains she thought the dragon nests would be too difficult for a human to live in, so she decided Raid should stay in this settlement from now on. Roanna beams warmly, greeting Raid with a cheerful smile. Roanna suddenly calls Raid Big Brother. Catching him completely off guard, he nervously assures her it's fine and asks if he upset her. Roanna looks down quietly, and Raid gently holds her hand, expressing his hope to get along well. He asks if something is wrong, trying to comfort her. Roanna praises Raid as amazing, saying he must have taken care of the sky dragons all by himself. She notes he can smell the presence of about 100 dragons, impressing Raid and the woman. The woman remarks that the princess's power has grown over the past 3 years, attributing it to Raid's taming. Raid reflects that if Luna's abilities have grown since 3 years ago, it must be due to his taming, and wonders if he might grow stronger if Roanna tames him too. Roanna loudly demands to be tamed as well, declaring she wants to get stronger. Raid is surprised but listens as she explains that once tamed, one must obey their master. She insists she can tell Raid isn't a bad person by scent, as the cat spirit tribe can understand people through smell. Despite Raid's hesitation, Roanna firmly grabs his cloak, determined to be tamed by him. Faye asks Luna why Roanna is so desperate to grow stronger, pleading with him. Luna explains the cat spirit tribe was driven from their home by monsters and fled to the land of dragons to survive. Roanna passionately declares she trains daily to reclaim her homeland. Faye warns that Roanna is just a small child carrying the burden of her race and suggests caution. He admits if there were a way to grow strong quickly, he'd jump at it too, but urges carefulness. He agrees to try taming Roanna but warns he can't guarantee success since he is a dragon tamer. Roanna confidently says compared to taming 100 dragons, she should be easy. Faye smiles, admitting her determination makes him want to succeed. He prepares to cast a spell, commanding the magic circle to unfold and release magic. Both close their eyes as their life wavelengths begin to align, focusing deeply on the connection forming between them. The magical energy pulses steadily, building tension as the moment approaches. Faye solemnly declares he seeks a bond with Roanna, stating her blood and functions will become his own. Roanna chants to seal the unbreakable contract between them here and now, surrounded by glowing magical symbols as the ritual takes effect. The girl with cat ears looks surprised as she places a hand on her chest. The man asks how it feels to have completed the tame. She hesitates, then admits she feels power surging inside her. Confident, she decides to test it immediately, heading toward a thick branch. The man notes the branch is about as thick as his arm. She swings her arm with great force, shattering the thick branch instantly. The blonde woman gasps in amazement, while the man reacts with shock and disbelief. The girl beams, recognizing this as her power. She excitedly tells the man, calling him Big Brother Raid, that he is no ordinary man. She asks him to train with her when he is free, expressing her desire to grow stronger and stronger. Meanwhile, in the Lazaria Empire's detached palace, advisors report to the king that since the recent rampage, the Sky Dragons refuse to obey the Dragon Knight's commands. The king, visibly irritated, acknowledges the threat from monsters pressing at the borders. An advisor suggests that since Raid's body has not been found among the dead, they should proceed assuming he still lives. The king demands the return of the man who deserted the empire and silenced the Sky Dragons alongside him. An advisor doubts the claim that Raid can actually speak with Sky Dragons, calling it nonsense. The king is urged that once the Sky Dragons are quieted, control can be re-established without Raid. The king contemplates as it is revealed that the dragons only began rampaging after Raid, who possessed the skill, left the empire. The king commands his men to search for Raid and insists they drag the salary thief back to make him work off all the pay given. He admits that even if it was just for show, Raid made him bow his head. Meanwhile, a determined figure vows to take Raid's head as payment, while others nearby prepare for the malice that rises again to strike. Raid gradually adapts to his new life among dragons and catfolk, kneeling beside a large dragon while holding a bottle of medicine. He warns the dragon that the treatment will sting but urges it to endure. Pouring the potion onto the dragon's scales, Raid watches as the scales begin to shimmer with renewed strength. The catfolk express their gratitude for his help, explaining their difficulty with magic and reliance on physical enhancement. They offer a small token of thanks for the food, clothing, and shelter he provides. The cat-eared girl cheerfully declares that with Big Brother Raid around, the Dragon Nation will be safe. Though Raid gently tells her she's exaggerating, the blonde elf woman reflects on how long it's been since her efforts were recognized like this. She expresses her deep desire to live in this country forever, prompting Raid to smile warmly and encourage her to say so. The elf woman and Raid clasp hands, her eyes shining with determination as she promises their support. Raid's heart races as he quietly acknowledges Luna as his partner and contemplates seriously settling here, feeling a strong connection to this place and its people. The elf woman warns that monsters have become more active and large ones are closing in on the Dragon Nation. Raid acknowledges how close they are, sharing her concern. She explains that monsters approaching elder dragons is unprecedented and worrying. Despite minor injuries, thanks to Raid's potions, the dragon is recovering. Raid resolves to do more for the people of the Dragon Nation, feeling indebted to them. Raid confidently declares he will tame every large monster around the area himself. The cat-eared girl and the elf woman react with stunned expressions, surprised by his bold promise. The group spots a griffin in the forest, and the cat-eared girl questions if Raid is serious about taming all large monsters. She warns that taming monsters, especially powerful ones like griffins, is much harder than taming beasts because their strong magic repels taming spells. Raid approaches the griffin calmly, telling everyone not to worry and to watch him. As the griffin notices him, Raid quickly conjures a magical circle, but the griffin reacts instantly, flapping its wings fiercely. Raid shouts that it's too late as the griffin prepares to strike. Raid casts a sealing spell, invoking the dragon-binding chains with a glowing magical circle in his hand. Chains shoot out, wrapping tightly around the griffin's leg. He declares himself the one seeking a bond, pledging their blood and strength as one. A glowing magical ring appears around the griffin's neck, symbolizing an unbreakable contract formed here and now. The griffin closes its eyes, accepting the bond. While Raid gently strokes its head, the griffin and Raid stand facing each other peacefully. From the forest, the cat-eared girl and the elf woman watch in awe, amazed that Raid tamed a griffin so effortlessly. A legendary feat for a dragon tamer. Raid announces success and tells them to come out. The elf woman is shocked when Raid casually admits he tamed griffins many times during his training. She questions this, surprised. Raid calmly explains that even elder dragons struggle with such monsters, calling it reckless. The women ask what Raid will do now, suggesting driving the griffin far away, but he refuses. Raid tells the griffin he will order it not to oppose the Dragon Nation, letting it be. The cat-eared girl questions the point of taming it if it won't fight. Raid explains that monsters like griffins usually establish territories and avoid certain areas instinctively. If this griffin becomes an ally, it will guard the entire region. The elf woman and cat-eared girl express understanding. Raid contemplates a name for the griffin, pondering aloud as he strokes it. The griffin lets out a loud, triumphant cry. Its wings spread wide as it takes flight. Raid calls out its name, Fawn, greeting it warmly. From below, the elf woman and cat-eared girl cheer in excitement. ready to tame every large monster near the Dragon Nation just like this. As Raid and the cat-eared girl ride atop Luna, the dragon, he reflects on his success. In just half a day, he tamed 20 large monsters. With these allies, the threat of other monsters encroaching on the Dragon Nation has nearly vanished. As a reward, the Dragon King granted Raid an incredible fortune, treasure and a monthly salary of 100 gold coins. Rumors spread through the town that the dragon caretaker at the imperial court was fired, causing monsters to encroach closer. Two men discuss how sky dragons, forcibly controlled by dragon riding techniques, are nearly at their limit. They worry about running out of healing potions, a problem that never occurred when Raid was present. An elderly woman holds a healing potion, shocked by its advanced quality, and questions if it was made by the exiled dragon caretaker. As storm clouds gather, ominously, a frustrated noble laments that the previous caretaker was exceptionally skilled. Suddenly, a messenger bursts in, shouting that they have found Raid's location. The king listens as the messenger reports that according to a traveler's testimony, Raid has headed toward an unexplored region. The king grins maliciously, ordering his men to prepare a carriage. He vows to personally capture the so-called salary thief. A dragon nearby sneers, plotting to extract all of Raid's secrets. From dragon control techniques to healing potion recipes, the king plans to execute Raid with a trumped-up charge this time. The king shouts that Raid cannot escape his grasp. Meanwhile, Raid, standing near dragons and holding a bottle, calmly realizes the emperor and his men are coming to capture him. A woman explains that the imperial sky dragons have made their stance clear with their roars. A man reflects on the emperor's disregard for the ancient pact with the dragons, questioning if he will ignore his ancestors' wishes to not interfere with the unexplored region. The woman expresses her desire to avoid causing more trouble for Luna and the others. The man thanks her and prepares to leave the dragon country, but she calls out to stop him. An elderly man advises Raid not to bear the burden alone, reminding him he is now a resident of this country. Raid is shocked to see the Dragon King in human form, who is approached by a girl pledging to help if Raid is in trouble. A leader rallies everyone, reminding them of the situation. The dragons and people express their gratitude to Raid, noting they are no longer attacked by monsters. The woman declares that Raid saved her life and she cannot stand by while he is in danger. The leader's eyes narrow as he commands everyone to repel the divine dragon empire. He vows to show how foolish it is to exile someone and then try to bring them back, rallying the crowd with a loud battle cry. Dragons fly alongside a horse-drawn carriage as a man thanks the sky dragons for their sudden cooperation. A noble questions why they are accepting the Dragon Knight's control techniques now when they refused before. A soldier searches for Raid, vowing to make him pay for forcing this pursuit, but is suddenly struck and cries out in pain. Griffins swoop down fiercely toward a carriage, their cries echoing as a man inside panics, shocked to see such creatures here. The carriage races through the forest, the man yelling in disbelief at the griffin's sudden attack. The carriages will crashes against rocks, breaking apart and sending it tumbling off a cliff. The man inside screams in terror, desperately calling out to the Dragon Knights for help as the griffins close in. A dragon with a rider watches the carriage plummet, the rider reminding the dragon that Raid ordered them not to kill the emperor or his men. The dragon swoops down swiftly toward the falling carriage. The man who fell from the carriage lies on the ground, bruised and shaken. He stammers an apology to Raid, begging him to return to the empire. Raid calmly refuses, telling the man to listen carefully as he makes his decision clear, leaving the man stunned and speechless. Raid is summoned before a stern figure who fires him immediately for false reports and neglect of duty, declaring he is exiled and must never set foot on imperial soil again. The accusation is clear. Raid and others were all in on a conspiracy. Shock and disbelief freeze Raid as the verdict is pronounced. He defiantly refuses to accept his fate, shouting that he will never serve the empire again, no matter how politely it is put. A furious man orders the Dragon Knights to kill Raid, branding him insolent and demanding immediate action. The scene shifts as dragons roar fiercely, and a large reptilian figure condemns the Emperor's despicable act of trying to force the sky dragons to attack Raid. The dragons are freed, taking flight as knights struggle to hold their ground. Raid's eyes flash with a powerful symbol, signaling his readiness. A gathering of dragons surrounds Raid and the man who ordered his exile, who panics and demands Raid be stopped quickly. He accuses Raid of treason, declaring that resisting him is clear treason, while the dragons growl menacingly, poised for confrontation. Raid calmly states that since he has been exiled from the Empire, he is no longer an imperial subject, so calling him insolent is inappropriate. The ancient dragon Luna, initially tense and defensive, visibly relaxes at Raid's words. Raid reassures Luna that he is fine and urges her to calm down. A man, sweating nervously, demands Raid order all the dragons to obey the Dragon Knights and serve the Empire. Raid replies that he has been telling him since his time in the Empire that he can talk to dragons. The man insists that if Raid doesn't make the dragons obey, the Imperial subjects will be devoured by approaching monsters. Raid struggles internally, torn between obedience and not wanting people to suffer. Raid asks the dragons Faye and others what they think about the orders. They respond that they don't mind protecting humans and have lived that way until now. Raid acknowledges their kindness but insists they can no longer stand obeying the current emperor. He worries that if treated the same as before, the dragons will overwork themselves and fall ill again. He proposes improved treatment plans for the Imperial Sky Dragons and demands the man accept all of them. He also requires a promise never to target him again and not to interfere with the unexplored region. The man scoffs, questioning who would take orders from a salary thief, then nervously retreats. An explosion erupts, sending a shockwave through the area. A man coughs violently, struggling to breathe as he clutches his chest. He collapses to the ground, gasping for air, overwhelmed by the aftermath. The man, terrified, recognizes the presence of a silver ancient dragon capable of taking human form. His eyes widen in shock as the figure of a dragon king appears before him. The dragon king declares himself Albarn and accuses the man of breaking a pact made long ago with the emperor of the divine dragon empire by sending troops to this land. The dragon king warns that if Raid had not stopped him earlier, the man's body would have turned to dust by now. The man breaks down in tears, overwhelmed with regret, lamenting that if only he hadn't exiled Raid. The scene shifts to a peaceful moment where Raid reflects on negotiating improved treatment plans for the Emperor and the Sky Dragons. These plans limit the number of taxing breath attacks and increase meals and rest periods. Raid thanks everyone in the Dragon Country and Luna for their help, while companions discuss Roanna wanting to join the battle too, sharing a lighthearted moment. He worries that if the Emperor saw the rare cat spirit tribe, it would cause serious trouble. Relieved, he notes that Roanna and the others stayed hidden. Now, he feels certain he won't be pursued by the Empire anymore. A new life is beginning. The sound of footsteps echoes as a figure hurriedly moves through a dim corridor. Heavy breaths escape the mouth of a mysterious girl as she runs deeper into the shadows. Then, her cloaked silhouette disappears into the darkness, leaving only the echo of her presence behind. The scene opens with a vast view of the Iguru Kingdom, located north of the Dragon Country. A large dragon carries Raid and a child as they approach the royal capital. Raid instructs to walk from here to avoid drawing attention, warning that ancient dragons and cat spirits might cause a commotion if noticed. The dragon acknowledges the order. Meanwhile, a figure steps lightly, signaling a new encounter in the royal capital. Several days after the Emperor's attack, a woman in human form shivers from the cold and sneezes. She explains she borrowed some extras from the cat spirits to cope. Raid hands something to Luna, who thanks him, feeling better now. The mood is light and hopeful as they recover together. The group walks through a snowy forest, heading to Falca, the royal capital of the Iguru Kingdom, to buy potion ingredients. Roanna is excited, but the woman reminds her not to get too carried away. They clarify their purpose is to accompany and protect Raid, not just to play with him. The trio approaches the city gate, greeted by guards and townsfolk. Inside Falca, the lively capital, the group admires the bustling market. The child asks if monsters in the city are safe, and Raid explains the Simurgh, feathered monsters supporting the kingdom, are resistant to cold. He learned about them during his work trips to the Empire. The child praises Raid's knowledge, and the group prepares to explore the city further. The woman apologizes, explaining she smelled a delicious aroma from a food stall. The boy adds that they sell grilled skewers. The man tells them to wait, noting they must be tired from flying so long. He orders 3 pork skewers with sauce. Soon, he returns, handing the skewers to Luna and Roanna. Luna's eyes sparkle as she eagerly tastes the skewer. Her heart pounding, she bites into it, savoring the flavor. She exclaims it's delicious, a taste not found in the Dragon Country. Roanna agrees, noting the strong seasoning could become addictive. The group continues shopping through the bustling market, determined to finish before dark. They browse various stalls, buying many items. The boy remarks they have purchased quite a lot as they walk through the lively streets. Suddenly, the boy accidentally bumps into a cloaked figure carrying a box. The woman notices the figure is an elf wearing a slave collar. The boy wonders what crime the child committed, recalling that in the Iguru Kingdom, major criminals are made into slaves. A cloaked girl urgently pleads for help, her face shadowed with fear. The group reacts with surprise as she begs to be hidden. A man shouts after her, warning she can't escape. The group debates quietly, agreeing it won't be good to hand her over. One asks Raid if they should help the girl, and he nods in agreement. Raid raises his hand, commanding 2 large birds to drive away their pursuers. He chants a magic circle deployment, and the birds respond swiftly, flying aggressively toward 3 startled men. The group seizes the moment to move as the men shout in shock at the sudden attack. He releases control of the birds, explaining this way there will be no evidence of their involvement. He expresses surprise that dragon knights can control creatures beyond dragons. He questions if the lady beside him is an ancient dragon, pondering if her race's sharp intuition might be involved. Luna remains silent but attentive. He clarifies he is not a dragon knight but a dragon caretaker, causing the cloaked girl to react with surprise. He explains he was asked for help because people believe in seeking aid from dragon knights in trouble. The group stands together in a quiet town street, ready to face whatever comes next. A girl named Milfy introduces herself, explaining she is a water spirit often mistaken for an elf. The man reacts with surprise, recalling that spirits like her were thought extinct like cat spirits. Milfy, determined, promises to prove her nature. Milfy holds out her hands, summoning a glowing orb of water without using a magic circle. The man is amazed, realizing this is magic, not sorcery. An explanation contrasts sorcery and magic. Sorcery requires a magic circle and consumes magical power, while magic manipulates power without a circle or loss. Beings close to nature, like spirits, can use magic. The man introduces himself as Raid and apologizes for the late introduction. Milfy's ability to use magic confirms she is a real spirit. He wonders why a spirit like Milfy is a slave in the Iguru kingdom. Milfy reveals she was kidnapped about a year ago by the men they encountered earlier. She was captured as a slave and ran desperately until finding them. Explaining the slave collar she wears, the group debates what to do next, noting her scent is pure and not stagnant. Raid suggests sheltering her in the dragon country by flying on Luna, assuring the kidnappers won't follow. Roanna agrees but hesitates about sending her back to her homeland. Milfy quietly asks to be taken along, confessing that even if she returns, no one remains. The group acknowledges the slave collar as the last obstacle since it forces her obedience. One offers reassurance, promising a solution. She pledges to do anything if the collar can be removed. The young man prepares to release magic power and deploy a magic circle to aid her. She declares her desire to bond, reciting a vow of shared blood and power. He explains that taming and slave collars both demand absolute obedience. But if he tames her with stronger magic than the collar, he can forcibly rewrite her master to himself. He calls for an unbreakable contract to be formed immediately as the collar glows with magical energy. The young man struggles to muster enough magical power, grimacing as his efforts fall short, despite the difficulty. He reminds himself that compared to taming an ancient dragon, this is easier. He intensifies his magic, surrounding Milfy with a glowing barrier, confident that the slave collar will be rendered powerless. The collar around Milfy's neck crackles with energy, then detaches, falling to the ground with a heavy thud. The magical bonds break, signaling the success of the ritual and the start of a new bond between them. Milfy gazes in awe, whispering that a dragon tamer who can control ancient dragons is beyond imagination. The group prepares to search, with the young man insisting their targets can't have gone far yet and warning not to underestimate them just because they're kids. He orders Luna to take Roanna and Milfy ahead. While he will stop the pursuers, Luna questions why they don't just fly from there, but he firmly refuses. The young man acknowledges that bringing a dragon into the city might be conspicuous but unavoidable given the circumstances. The ancient dragon walks on 4 legs through the city streets, drawing shocked reactions from bystanders. Some recognize the young man as a dragon knight and express frustration that they can't chase if the dragon flies. The young man swiftly carries Milfy as they rush forward. A girl with a beanie hurls a large log at their pursuers, shouting at them to wait. She then charges forward with a fierce grin, ready to attack. The log crashes down, knocking the pursuers off balance with a loud impact. The young man flies above the city, carrying Milfy and Luna, while the pursuers curse their failure to catch them. The young man reflects on their successful shopping trip and rescuing Milfy. Though he worries about bringing her along without permission, Milfy doubts her worth as a spirit, blaming her capture on her weakness. But he reassures her that she is not useless. He believes the Dragon King, a compassionate dragon who aids those in need, will welcome Milfy as a fellow rare race. He encourages Milfy that everyone starts weak but can grow stronger, promising his help despite being just a dragon caretaker. Milfy gratefully thanks him for removing her collar and supplying magic power, while he remembers to keep the tame active, knowing spirits thrive with more magic. Suddenly, the ancient dragon warns that a horde of monsters is approaching the dragon country. The leader of this horde claims to be one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Demon King's army, a terrifying force conveyed by the roars of ancient dragons. The young man reacts with shock and concern. He recalls that the 4 heavenly kings are the Demon King's elite demons who once ravaged the continent, nearly causing its destruction. The recent surge in monster activity might signal the Demon King's revival, a threat the Dragon King has also considered. The young man contemplates this grim reality as the girl with the beanie tightens her grip, ready for what lies ahead. The girl with the beanie insists on joining the fight to help everyone in danger. While the water spirit quietly declares she wants to stay by Raid's side, Raid wrestles with the dilemma of whether to leave her safe in the cat spirit village or protect her himself. Luna suggests circling around from behind to assess the situation first, and Raid agrees, thanking her for the plan. From their vantage point, Raid spots the massive horde of monsters advancing, including various beasts and demons. The ominous army marches forward relentlessly, filling the valley below. Suddenly, a confident woman steps forward, introducing herself as Eru of the Explosive Flame, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Demon King's army. Her presence radiates power and menace as she declares her identity. Eru demands the immediate surrender of the water spirit taken from the Iguru kingdom, promising mercy and a painless death if they comply. Her sinister smile signals the arrival of a formidable enemy, casting a dark shadow over the group. A massive horde of monsters advances relentlessly, led by a confident woman who announces herself as Eru of the Explosive Flame, one of the 4 heavenly kings of the Demon King's army. She demands the immediate surrender of the water spirit taken from the Iguru kingdom, promising mercy and a painless death if they comply. The young man confirms that Milfi is their target. Noting the monsters haven't noticed them yet, he instructs Luna to use her breath to blast Eru while he restrains the horde with a long-range sealing technique. Eru asks if they shall proceed. Later, the group reflects on the encounter, noting that the 4 heavenly kings' appearance was anticlimactic, thanks to their surprise attack using Raid's chains and the princess's breath. They quickly subdued the monster horde. They discuss keeping Eru bound with a sealing technique, uncertain of what she might do if freed. Back at their quarters, the young man asks if they plan to sleep in his room, especially addressing Luna. The elf leans on him to keep indecent individuals away. The cat spirit asks what's wrong, and the young man admits the situation is difficult for a healthy man. He awkwardly asks the others to tell Luna to control herself, recalling how Eru's captivity was a bit troublesome. Luna and Roanna sleep soundly side by side, but Raid struggles to fall asleep with a troubled expression. The night sky darkens as tension builds. Meanwhile, Milfi remains chained in a dim, stone-walled cell, clutching her knees. A grim reaper-like figure approaches her, wielding a massive scythe. Suddenly, Raid jolts awake, alerted by the sound of chains clinking. He rushes to the door with Roanna and Luna following closely behind. Milfi's distress is clear as she cries out, and Raid recognizes the smoke rising in the distance. He orders Roanna to watch over Milfi, sensing the danger is real. Raid and the others face a group of skeletal foes flying toward them. He quickly casts a sealing spell, conjuring dragon-binding chains that wrap tightly around the enemies. Noticing a collar on one skeleton, Raid deduces its significance and realizes the source of their power. The enemies struggle but remain restrained, buying precious time. Outside, the air crackles as the imprisoned spirit bursts into flames. Laughing maniacally, she emerges fully revived. Her wings spread wide and a wicked smile on her face. Raid shields himself from the sudden burst of energy, bracing for the battle ahead. The woman with long hair calmly explains the difficulty of slipping past the watchful eyes of the ancient dragons. The man and Roanna stand before a large dragon. The woman, now floating within a magic circle, insists her explosive flames blew the seals away, but the dragon snarls, vowing the man will pay for burning their brethren and homes with his own body. The dragon is trapped inside a shimmering flame cage as the woman raises her hand, signaling power. The man shouts Luna's name in alarm as the dragon breathes a powerful stream of fire. The woman taunts the ancient dragon princess, declaring the flame cage prevents magical power from escaping, even Luna's breath. The dragon's eye widens in shock. The man realizes the cage was activated without a magic circle. The woman, engulfed in flames, challenges the man, revealing she is one of the 4 heavenly kings. The woman unleashes a torrent of explosive flames, warning the man he will regret disrespecting her. The man summons a glowing magical circle in defense, shouting his own name as the dragon's fierce gaze meets his resolve. The man unleashes the sealing technique called dragon-binding chains, chaos, encircling the ancient dragon in flaming chains. The woman gasps in shock, unable to believe a human counters her flames. The man explains this sealing technique can bind even ancient dragons and nullify magical power. The dragon's eye narrows as it calls out the man's name. Raid, the woman, impressed yet defiant, declares she will respond with power worthy of the challenge. Flames erupting from her hands. She leaps forward, vowing her feet will not stop until their demon king revives. The man braces himself, Acknowledging Eru's magical power is superior, but confident his sealing technique is well suited against her magic. The woman taunts him for facing her without retreating, preparing to finish the fight with one big technique. He begins to pour in the maximum amount of magical power into his spell. Raid shouts the name of his ultimate sealing technique, Azure Sky Dragon Encounter. As he launches the spell, the flaming chains surge forward, wrapping around the woman's blazing hands. Her eyes widen in shock as the chains begin to take effect. The woman realizes her flames are being absorbed by the chains. The man holds a glowing magical circle. Explaining this is the ultimate sealing technique against fire dragons, and it is equally effective against demons. The woman struggles as the chains tighten, and the man demands she surrender. She glares defiantly, refusing to give in despite the overwhelming power binding her. The woman snarls fiercely, struggling against the flaming chains binding her. The man shouts a warning that she will self-destruct from magical power depletion if she continues. Insisting he does not intend to kill her, she defiantly replies she'd rather face that than be restrained by an enemy twice. The man starts moving quickly toward her, determined to end the fight. He rushes forward, clenching the glowing chains in his fist, declaring he'll stop her before she self-destructs. The woman grimaces, realizing she can't completely dodge his attack. The man focuses his power into his fist, preparing to strike. The man unleashes a powerful technique named Divine Dragon Empire Style, Dragon Knight Combat Technique, Dragon Piercing Awakening. As the chains surge forward, aiming to pierce through the woman collapses unconscious. While the man stands over her, relieved, another voice calls out, asking if he is all right. The narration explains they carried the unconscious woman to a cave with Luna. The man explains he tamed the woman in addition to binding her with chains so she couldn't resist, warning her not to rampage or hurt anyone and demanding honest answers. The woman gasps as the invisible chains bind her, awakening a strange sensation within her. He questions if his taming is just a pretext, asking what demands he truly intends to make with her body forced to obey. The woman protests that while he may control her body, he cannot control her heart. The man reflects that this behavior is unlike her battle form and worries about its effect on Roanna and Milfy's education. The man warns the woman that if she tries to seduce his partner again, there will be consequences. She nervously pleads for leniency, claiming seduction is a succubus's nature. The man prepares to retaliate but pauses, remembering he still has questions for Eru. He reveals he tamed her instead of sealing her. The man asks Eru why she sent subordinates to kidnap Milfy. She reveals she is the last surviving princess of the water spirits who sealed him and that water is her natural enemy. She took precautions to avoid being sealed again. The man introduces himself as Raid and says he will forgive her if she becomes his slave, clarifying it's taming, not slavery. The woman reflects on her past defeats and the sealing technique that suppresses her flames when serious. The man is identified as a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight who sealed the Demon King, a legendary figure who rode an ancestral divine dragon. He admits he hasn't heard of this from his parents and wonders if he is as unaware as the water spirit princess. The woman with pointed ears, clearly amused, refuses to answer easily, explaining their master rules the underground demon realm with immense magical power. The man insists there are more urgent matters to discuss with Eru, though he acknowledges the possibility that he might be the Imperial Dragon Knight. The woman's mouth moves on its own, startling her, as she explains the increase in monster activity is due to the Demon King's seal weakening over time. She admits she doesn't know the exact location of the sealed Demon King. The man notes the Demon King sealed by the Imperial Dragon Knight is missing, recalling that in ancient times, the Demon King nearly dominated the entire continent. The woman, frustrated, says if she knew the location, she would have gone there herself. The man asks for clarification, but she remains silent. The man stresses the urgency to find the Demon King's sealing location and reseal him before the demon race revives. The woman is asked about the other Heavenly King's movements. She admits ignorance but reveals 2 have already been defeated, leaving only 1 remaining besides herself. The man expresses relief, believing that with only 1 skilled fighter like Eru left, they should be able to handle any attack. The woman counters that the last Heavenly King is a demon rivaling the Demon King, warning that if that one returns, even the dragon country ruled by ancient dragons won't remain safe. The man suggests searching for the Demon King's sealing location immediately, and the woman agrees to ask the ancient dragons for help. Suddenly, a young woman with cat-like ears apologizes for interrupting and asks the man, Raid, to come to the homeland of the cat spirit tribe, explaining there is someone she wants to help. The scene shifts as the story moves to a new stage, with a figure praying silently before a framed photo. 2 dragons soar through the sky, one carrying Raid and a woman with cat-like ears. The woman addresses Raid respectfully as Lord Raid. bowing deeply and expressing gratitude for his help in Miraria's return home. Raid reflects on his understanding of family care as the narration explains that after taming Eru, they heard Miraria's wish to reclaim her family's guardian sword. They were heading to the cat spirit tribe's homeland, taken by demons, to convince the tribe leader who opposed returning home. The group, including small cat-eared girls, surprises Raid. A large dragon named Gerard, an older brother figure to young ancient dragons, comments on the journey, warning Raid not to let his guard down, despite his confidence. The woman with cat ears warns that those who boast are usually the first to fall. Raid nervously asks Meraria about the guardian sword. Meraria explains the sword's importance, passed down through generations of the cat spirit tribe leader's family, said to have once vanquished a giant demon. She recounts how many monsters, including a giant three-headed hydra, swarmed in suddenly, preventing them from even grabbing the sword. Raid reacts with concern at the mention of the hydra as a massive clawed foot lands firmly on the ground. The group arrives at their homeland only to find the village in ruins and abandoned. The cat-eared girl quietly admits they are home. But the devastation is clear. The dragon notes the village is in terrible condition, and some, including the grandfather, have half given up on returning. Raid reflects on the day their village was attacked by monsters, recalling how Meraria vowed to her deceased parents to protect their home. She dreamed of reclaiming the guardian sword and their homeland, returning with pride and safety from monsters. A voice calls out, declaring Miraria's wish to return home with everyone. Meraria firmly pledges to Raid that she will reclaim the guardian sword, which will guide and empower him. Raid asks where the sword is kept, learning it is stored in a large underground cavern beneath the village chief's house. The dragon's keen senses detect a familiar, unsettling smell. Suddenly, the dragon's eyes widen in alarm as it senses danger approaching. The group prepares as the dragon warns that enemies are coming. Flames burst forth in a fierce attack, signaling the arrival of the threat. Raid is warned that the approaching figures are direct subordinates of the four Heavenly King's sword demon Vasil, known as the sword demon's 6 attendants. The dragon wings of the group block Eru's flames, confirming Vasil's power. Raid reacts with shock at the revelation. He recalls that Vasil is a demon rivaling even the Demon King, and these 6 are his attendants. An elf remarks that the monsters Vasil sent to the water spirit village have broken Lady Eru's seal. Eru, uneasy and tense, is questioned about why she is with them, accused of becoming a prisoner. Eru silently refuses to answer. While Raid thinks the Heavenly King is hopeless, he confronts her, surprised to find survivors among the water spirits despite Vasil's monsters attacking the village. The group discusses the destruction wrought by Vasil's forces on the water spirit village. She confirms the accusations, explaining that the 6 attendants belong to a clan capable of sealing her, one of the Demon Kings for Heavenly Kings. She admits they would be a nuisance if left alive. The clan member angrily summons water magic, declaring their clan unforgivable and reacting fiercely to the accusation. Goraz, the will-o'-the-wisp and one of the sword demon's 6 attendants, announces Lord Vasil's orders to burn everyone except the cat spirit tribe who came for the sword. Shiru of the Green Wind, another attendant, expresses her impatience, wanting to finish quickly because she's sleepy. Chains slam down, sealing 2 of the attendants. Raid notices their magical power surpasses that of average dragons and feels relieved he prepared for this. He readies a sealing technique, determined to end the fight quickly. Suddenly, Shiru is caught in chains, and Goraz reacts with shock. Raid scolds the sneak attack as cowardly but understands the urgency. He urges his companions to hurry before more monsters arrive, and decides to retrieve the guardian sword while they have the chance. Massive, intimidating snakes block their path, growling menacingly. Raid worries they might be too late to stop the chaos and warns that if they get held up here, there will be no end to the threat. Raid commands Gerard and Eru to take Meraria and the others to secure the guardian sword first. Eru's body begins moving on its own again, and she assures Raid to leave it to them. Flames erupt fiercely, scorching the advancing monsters. Meraria and her companions call out to Raid as he flies ahead. They confirm the guardian sword has been entrusted to Gerard and Eru, planning to escape once it's secured. Behind them, a horde of monstrous enemies approaches relentlessly. Raid requests Milfi to join the mission, but she refuses, insisting she won't move until the enemies are completely suppressed. Goraz, bound in chains, shouts to get Raid's attention. Raid acknowledges that the sealing technique used on him is extraordinary. Milfi launches a barrage of water orbs, determined not to let the monsters advance. The dragon snarls in disbelief that pure strength alone could resist anti-dragon magic. Raid struggles against the magical chains, breaking the ground beneath him as he fights to free himself. Raid grimaces as he is slammed into the ground, struggling against chains that suddenly appear around him. Milfi watches intently, impressed by the spirit's power. Raid recognizes the sealing technique as dragon binding chains, identical to those used by another foe, confused. He questions how the chains still exist when Lord Vasil should have eradicated that clan. Shiru quietly wonders the same, leaving Raid to demand to know what the enemy truly is. The massive multi-headed dragon is ensnared by heavy dragon binding chains conjured by Raid. He signals Luna to assist, promising to follow up. The dragon thrashes, but the chains hold firm as Raid prepares for the next move. Raid continues to restrain the dragon with the chains, while the surrounding monsters roar and advance. He commands to focus on the monsters first, determined to end the battle swiftly. The dragon's movements cause the ground to tremble, but Raid remains resolute. Milfi raises her hand, casting a sealing spell that wraps a minotaur-like monster in chains. The creature screams as it is lifted and immobilized by the magic. Raid dodges a thrown log from the monster, preparing to counterattack. The battle intensifies as the heroes coordinate their attacks against the overwhelming enemy forces. Raid slams his hand down, conjuring dragon-binding chains that snap around the massive dragon, immobilizing it. Milfi raises her hands, casting a sealing spell that traps a minotaur-like monster. Raid declares the battle over, reflecting on lessons learned from his parents and his observations of the Dragon Knight's training. His dragon praises his martial art skills and recent battle performance. Suddenly, Raid notices the dragon binding chains breaking apart. His strongest sealing technique shattered. He gasps in disbelief as Lady Eru and Goraz appear, thanking him for saving them and expressing relief. Raid wonders how the seal could have been broken, feeling the weight of the situation. A dark figure with black wings and a sword named Fantoris arrives, announcing the complete release of the magical power seals on both targets. Raid realizes the enemy had more allies than expected. The danger level is assessed as highest class, confirming the presence of a powerful sealing technique user. Fantoris swiftly lunges at Raid with a sword strike. Moving with blinding speed, Raid barely dodges the attack, but the tension escalates as the enemy presses the assault, shouting Raid's name with fierce intent. Raid recognizes the stance of the black-winged ninja, his eyes widening in shock. The enemy draws a dagger with swift precision, confirming his skill level as he prepares to strike. Raid braces himself, fully aware of the threat. The ninja lunges forward, wielding a flaming blade with deadly intent. The attack is named the Dark Fang Piercing Blade, a sealing technique so formidable that it demands Raid's utmost focus as they face a critical moment. Fantoris lunges forward with a flaming blade, shouting the name of his deadly attack. Dark Fang Piercing Blade. Raid's eyes widen in shock as the fiery blade hurtles toward him. The massive dragon roars, warning Raid as the attack closes in. He grimaces in pain as Raid manages to deflect the strike. His surprise evident, Raid's gaze sharpens, realizing the technique was unfamiliar. Modified with a demonic style, he wonders if the skill could be linked to his own swordsmanship. Raid questions if the technique originates from the divine Dragon Empire. Confused how a demon could wield such power, Fantoris remains silent, his eyes cold and unreadable. The black-winged ninja prepares to strike again, advancing with deadly intent as Raid steadies himself atop his dragon. He braces for the next attack, fists clenched tightly, while Fantoris readies his flaming blade for close combat. The tension rises as Raid acknowledges the enemy's dangerous skill and his refusal to respond, signaling a fierce battle ahead. Confirmation arrives that the sealing technique user's skill level is complete, revealing him as another descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight, one capable of binding ancient dragons. Reporting to Lord Vasil is their top priority. As the group moves forward, the young man calls out to learn more but is cut off by a dragon's fiery breath, forcing him to shout for it to wait. The black-winged ninja and his companions take flight, leaving the young man behind. One of them vows that next time they meet, he will exterminate the bloodline of the Imperial Dragon Knight for failing Lord Vasil's orders. The young man decides not to pursue them, instead suggesting they regroup with Roanna and the others. A woman explains that a clan possessing techniques to seal the Demon King is the greatest natural enemy of demons. From Vasil's perspective, exterminating the entire clan would be expected. Around a campfire, the young man explains that his clan in the Empire is different. It's not that they could use sealing techniques because they were dragon caretakers, but rather they became dragon caretakers because they could use sealing techniques strong enough to bind dragons. He adds that Raid's clan likely lost their traditions due to Vasil's clan hunt. Skills can change through blood-soaked training or lifestyle changes. The magical power, presence, and appearance of the sealing technique match those of the Imperial Dragon Knight. If the 6 attendants judged after seeing Raid's sealing technique, then there's no doubt. Raid is told he is a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight, and he realizes this truth himself. With the Demon King's revival approaching, monsters are becoming active, and the remaining 4 heavenly kings are starting to move. The woman suggests that perhaps Raid's meeting with her was also fate. Both look at each other thoughtfully, contemplating the significance of their encounter. Raid wonders if fate means he is supposed to defeat the Demon King alongside Luna or someone else. The woman replies ambiguously that no one knows. She admits that, as the demon's mistress, she does not want the Demon King to be defeated, but then asks if the seal is still unbroken. The group is shown struggling in the cave with Meraria and others fighting nearby. The woman asks Raid to wait a little longer, explaining that if it weren't for a barrier only the cat spirit tribe can destroy, he would unleash his breath. He hesitates, worried that doing so might cause the entire underground space to collapse. Raid then asks Roanna for help, who responds with surprise. He grips her hand tightly, and she gasps as magical power surges within her. She marvels at the growing strength welling up inside. He explains he has infused her with magic to amplify her power for about 10 seconds, urging her to break the barrier while she can. She nods firmly, readying herself, then shouts as she prepares to strike. She punches through the barrier with a powerful blow, shards of the magical wall shattering around her. The group cheers, impressed by her strength despite her youth. She beams with determination, now able to see beyond the barrier. They step through the opening and find themselves in a cavern with a dark spring. Her eyes widen in shock as she recognizes the object in the water. She asks urgently what it is, and the others look on with concern. She reveals the sword is the divine dragon imperial sword, named Re-Eden, the holy weapon once wielded by the imperial dragon knight who fought the Demon King. She explains the 6 attendants of the sword were lying in wait for the cat spirit tribe's return to retrieve it. The group acknowledges this revelation with gravity. The young man explains that his clan possesses sealing techniques capable of binding the Demon King. While the Water Spirit clan can seal Eru, one of the 4 heavenly kings, the cat spirit tribe guards the weapon that cornered the Demon King as their guardian sword. He wonders why such an incredible sword is in their village, noting that Vasil is attacking troublesome clans strategically to revive the Demon King. He recalls a report of a cat-eared girl in the Imperial Dragon Knight's party just before he was sealed. Realizing she might have been a member of the cat spirit tribe rather than a beast person. Through this connection, the sword has been protected in the village. He shares that his parents told him the sword holds the power to destroy great evil, and he never imagined it was such a significant artifact. The cat-eared woman raises the sword high, unleashing a dazzling magical power that astonishes the group. The young man marvels at the incredible magic, realizing that with this sword, he could defeat a Hydra in a single swing. The group decides to report to the Dragon King, who has held an emergency meeting to prepare for the possibility of the Dragon Country being attacked by demons. The elf questions whether it was right for Raid to skip the meeting, but the young man suggests leaving the difficult talk to the Dragon King. The cat spirit tribe chief, holding the sword, addresses her grandfather as they approach the Dragon King. The cat spirit tribe chief expresses relief that Sir Raid and his group are safe, praising their success in retrieving the guardian sword. He acknowledges the achievement as a collective effort and thanks the chief for listening to his story, explaining the sword's significance as a guardian deity for their tribe. The entire cat spirit tribe bows deeply, pledging lifelong service as a debt of gratitude for the help they've received. The chief mentions Meraria specifically, drawing a surprised reaction from Raid. Meraria is praised warmly by the tribe, with cheers of "Long live Lady Meraria." The group shares smiles and gratitude, while one woman announces a celebration for reclaiming the guardian sword. She promises plenty of delicious meat for the feast, sparking excitement. The celebration begins with joyful laughter and plentiful food being served. The group, including the young man and the cat-eared girl, enjoy the feast alongside dragons, savoring the moment of peace and victory. The group enjoys the celebration, laughing and drinking together. The young man smiles nervously as the cat-eared girl and others cheer around him. The scene shifts to everyone lying down, exhausted and falling asleep after the festivities. A sudden startled shout breaks the calm as a dragon's jaws snap close to a girl with bat wings. The young man closes his eyes, drifting into sleep. A shadowy figure sits on a throne, observing the group from above. The narration reflects relief at having moved to this country. The figure speaks, recognizing the young man as a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight and expressing surprise that he is still alive. The dragons rally with fierce determination, recalling how the princess fought bravely in the homeland of the cat spirit tribe, never yielding to the demon race. They vow not to let the demon bastards who harmed the princess escape punishment. The princess's future husband, Raid, is called unforgettable, stirring strong emotions. A dragon questions the closeness between the princess and Raid, while the young man and the princess walk nearby. The young man explains that despite species differences, it no longer matters since the princess can now transform into a human. Breaking down physical barriers, suddenly, A sharp strike lands on the dragon, causing it to cry out in pain. The cat spirit tribe members Meraria and Roanna arrive, greeted warmly by Raid. A woman warns Lord Gerard to watch his language as children are present. Raid listens as Meraria reports that the cat spirit tribe is helping protect the dragon country. Assuring that everything is fine, he hopes peace will continue. Roanna confidently declares they will protect everyone, no matter what happens. The group shares a calm moment, with Raid gently patting Roanna's head. Suddenly, the princess is alerted to a report of strong magical power and a faint presence resembling Raid's sealing techniques detected nearby, prompting urgent concern. The young man and the princess focus on the Warren Great Forest, recalling its significance. The princess notes she sensed no sealing-type magical power when reunited with Raid. They consider the possibility that the Demon King might be sealed somewhere in the forest. With magical power leaking out, the group agrees to investigate the forest. Dragons soar above as the group prepares to leave. A cat spirit cheerfully promises to protect the dragon country in their absence. The young man explains his father taught him about the forest, used for training during the Divine Dragon Empire era. The princess asks why he trained specifically there, noting its value as a safe place in enemy territory. The young man admits he felt out of place training openly while caring for the sky dragons and could only train openly during his job. The princess sympathizes, acknowledging his hardships. They discuss the Holy Sword's power, which is calmed since its retrieval but conserves energy for emergencies. A cat spirit adds that whether Raid can draw out its power depends on his skill, and if the sword acknowledges him. The princess urges the cat spirit to stop speaking as if testing Raid. The cat spirit explains Meraria brought out the sword as the tribe's representative, believing Raid could master it with his bloodline power. The young man notes the area is quiet, sensing no monsters, likely because 2 ancient dragons keep them at bay. Suddenly, he realizes something important he hadn't noticed until now. He wonders if the reason many monsters have always inhabited this great forest is due to the influence of the sealed Demon King. If what Eru said is true, he is a descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight, and his clan might have used the forest as a training ground to monitor the seal and prepare for emergencies. He realizes this is where they met and reunited, and possibly where the Demon King is sealed. The young man reflects that it feels like fate, as the ancient dragon beside him says it's almost time. They arrive at a clearing with a tall stone pillar marked with a cross. The woman notes this doesn't look like their destination to Meraria. He assures her it's just ahead. Suddenly, the woman is surprised by the spacious area. The young man senses a strange magical power emanating from the pillar. He explains it's the focal point of the barrier protecting this training ground, designed to keep monsters away. The young man notices exceptions to the usual monster presence and wonders if it's because they are with him. Memories flood back as he recalls his father saying this place was precious, a site their clan protected for generations, where they would clean the area together. As he wipes the tall stone pillar, it suddenly begins to flash with a unique interval, something he's never seen before. Confused and alarmed, he wonders what the flashing means while a dragon watches nearby. A glowing figure appears holding the guardian sword, startling the young man. The mysterious presence declares that the time has come since he appeared holding the sword. The young man anxiously looks around, trying to identify who the figure is. The figure reveals himself as Mikazuchi, once known as the Imperial Dragon Knight, introducing himself with a confident smile as the young man listens in shock. The woman trapped in the magic stone laments that only her soul remains, unable to change after being sealed for so long. She angrily demands what the man wants now, accusing him of lingering in the world as a mere soul. The man greets her warmly, teasing that she hasn't changed her habit of jumping to conclusions. The woman is shocked, suspecting he's transcended time just to humiliate her, while the young man notices the man's outline blurring. The man admits he really is just a soul and says he doesn't have much time left. He clenches his fist, acknowledging his limited time despite being only a soul. He addresses the young man as Imperial Dragon Knight Mikazuchi and says he has something to ask. The young man introduces himself as Raid, a dragon tamer from the Divine Dragon Empire, preparing to answer. Mikazuchi confirms he is Raid's ancestor, surprising the young man. He explains that he learned from the spirit of one of Raid's ancestors that their clan's traditions were interrupted by Vasil. He promises to tell Raid everything, urging him to listen carefully, while the ancient dragon watches nearby. He reveals the truth. The Demon King is a half-breed of human and demon, a distant relative of their clan. He intended to erase the clan's shame himself but could only seal the Demon King at the cost of his own life, leaving his soul trapped in the state. He understands the former purpose of their clan and questions why it became dragon tamers for the Divine Dragon Empire. The ancestor explains their clan originally lived on an island nation in the east but had to cross the sea to defeat the Demon King. At that time, someone could communicate with dragons and borrow their wings. marking the start of dragon tamers. After his death, when Vasil nearly wiped out their clan, someone valued by the Divine Dragon Empire for dragon handling skills survived, preserving their bloodline as dragon caretakers. Over generations, they acquired the sealing techniques now. Possessed by Raid, confirming Eru's suspicion about their clan's original ability. The ancestor reveals the monolith is a bridge to convey his will to descendants and serves as the entrance to the alternate dimension where the Demon King is sealed. Those who migrated to the Empire never forgot the spring and sent descendants over generations to watch over it. Raid realizes this place wasn't just a training ground. However, crucial information about the Demon King was lost over time, and the seal has weakened, leaving the ancestor at a loss. He arranged it so only clan members who know the way can approach the spring. The ancestor tells Raid that fate has brought him here carrying Re-Eden, under divine guidance. He notes the soul maintaining the sword seems to be nearing its limit. The ancestor asks what Raid intends to do about the Demon King, leaving the question hanging as Raid contemplates. The ancestor urges Raid to destroy the Demon King with the Divine Dragon Imperial Sword. He explains the weakening seal is also an opportunity to destroy the Demon King through it. The sword's magical power, exhausted in battle with the Demon King and others, should have recovered over the years. He asks Raid what he will do, awaiting his answer. Gerard declares confidently that if they defeat the Demon King, everyone can live peacefully. Mikazuchi admits he wants to defeat the Demon King immediately. A silent acknowledgement follows, then a calm smile and gratitude from Mikazuchi. A dark voice comments on the spirited declaration. He stands alone in the spring, the Divine Dragon Imperial Sword plunged deep into the water. Suddenly, the sword begins to shift, drawing Gerard's surprised attention. A massive shockwave erupts as the monolith containing the sword's soul is shattered or cut in a single strike, sending waves crashing and startling nearby onlookers. Mikazuchi, Gerard, and a shadowy figure watch in disbelief. Mikazuchi remarks on the long time since they last met. A sinister figure clad in dark armor appears, smiling coldly as he announces he has been waiting for this moment when Gerard would appear. The aura around him radiates a detestable power, signaling a looming confrontation. Gerard shouts in shock and anger at Vasil, demanding how he managed to get inside despite the ancient dragons outside. His disbelief grows as he questions the situation, unable to comprehend the breach. The scene shifts to reveal monstrous creatures and dragons confronting the group. While Gerard notices the presence of the sword demon's 6 attendants, Vasil smirks, acknowledging the Demon King's seal in another dimension and boasting he hasn't wasted the centuries of preparation. Leaves fall ominously as a voice calls out to Mikazuchi. The atmosphere thickens with dense magical power, causing Gerard and others to tense. The trees themselves seem charged with foreboding energy, signaling a dangerous presence. Vasil faces Mikazuchi, who approaches calmly. Mikazuchi apologizes to Eru, explaining that Vasil operates on an entirely different level of power. Gerard is warned to be careful as the tension escalates, preparing for the confrontation ahead. Mikazuchi reveals that the man before them was once human and is the brave warrior who co-created the Divine Dragon Empire-style techniques with him. Gerard is shocked to learn this is the founder of the Divine Dragon Empire style. Mikazuchi notes that this explains why the warrior's attendants can also use those techniques, then remarks on Gerard's dull expression and disbelief that he is Mikazuchi's descendant. The warrior silently prepares, summoning a swirling magical energy above his sword. The warrior launches into an attack called Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight sword technique, shouting Dragon Claw swift descent, as he swings his sword at a massive dragon lunging toward him. Gerard narrowly blocks the attack with his arms, struggling under the force of the Divine Dragon Empire style. The warrior continues, naming his next move Dragon Knight combat technique. Dragon Wing Waltz, as Gerard braces himself against the assault. He is violently thrown back, landing hard on the ground with a shocked expression as blood splatters from his side. Mikazuchi rushes over, asking if Gerard was cut by the erupting magical power. Gerard examines his wound in disbelief, realizing the blade never actually touched him despite the injury. The sword in question is revealed as the Divine Dragon Imperial Sword Re Shangri-La, designed to be paired with Re-Eden. Despite its corruption by demonic power, it remains a holy sword meant to slay demons. The warrior grips the sword tightly, thinking that cutting with magical power is absurd, then launches a powerful strike. Gerard is violently thrown back, crashing into a tree and coughing up blood. A monstrous voice calls out his name, Raid, as a figure approaches, declaring he will offer up Mikazuchi's last blood relative as a prelude to the Demon King's revival. He demands to know why the warrior became a demon. The warrior explains simply that he created the Divine Dragon Empire-style techniques. He reveals that a human's lifespan is short, So the Demon King granted his wish for an eternity to refine his skills and reach the pinnacle. He vows not to let a battle-crazed maniac like Raid live. The warrior unleashes a technique called Dragon Claw Spiral Grind, releasing a powerful breath attack. The ancient dragons recoil in shock at their own breath being used against them. The warrior curses the ancient dragons as Gerard urgently calls out to Luna, preparing to respond to the threat. The warrior activates the sealing technique. Dragon Binding Chains, unleashing glowing chains that whirl around him. He's using the same technique as Mikazuchi, impressing his opponent who notes how cleverly the chains are blocked from the blind spot. Gerard urgently commands Eru to burn the enemy, admitting he never intended to underestimate him from the start. Eru launches a blazing fire attack, but she protests that her body isn't owned just because she's been tamed. Gerard reassures her not to misunderstand. The flames roar as the attack hits, and the dragon monster anxiously asks if they succeeded. The warrior calmly replies he's not misunderstanding and vows to cut down traitors here. He admits the opponent is tougher than expected. Nearby, Gerard and the others watch tensely as a woman calls out to Sir Raid, urging him forward. Gerard raises the Divine Dragon Empire-style sword. Re-Eden, feeling a surge of power. He wonders if it's because he's the descendant of the Imperial Dragon Knight Mikazuchi. Clenching the sword's hilt, he senses he can finally unleash its full power. Doubt gnaws at him. Can he truly do this? He can only wield the Divine Dragon Empire style with bare hands. Yet now he must face sword techniques he's never known. The question lingers. Can he defeat that monster? The power granted will last mere minutes, and the one transferring it will vanish, unable to offer further guidance. The older man silently accepts this fate, telling him there's no other choice. The older man urges him to act, the only one capable of cutting down the foe. He implores him to fight for the future, to clear the clouded heart that holds him back. The young warrior steels himself, the weight of tomorrow pressing down as he exhales quietly. Memories and purpose swirl in his mind. His ancestral roots and the survival of his race once felt distant and grand, but now the threat stands before him in reality. The enemy radiates deadly intent, and the only option is to fight and survive. His resolve hardens with every step he takes toward the looming danger. With fierce determination, he calls out to Mikazuchi, declaring he will borrow his power. The older man smiles, sensing the cloudiness in the young warrior's heart has lifted. Together, they prepare to begin, united as last blood relatives facing the battle ahead. An enormous amount of magical power surges into the young warrior, fueled by Mikazuchi's knowledge and experience. He feels confident he can match his opponent now, especially with Luna by his side. Mounted on the dragon, he prepares to face the challenge. Gripping his sword tightly, he readies himself atop the dragon. The opposing figure acknowledges the revival of the Dragon Knight. Impressed by the unexpected increase in fighting power through such a trick, the tension builds as the two prepare to clash. The young warrior calls to Luna, his partner, urging her to stay with him until the end and show their resolve. They charge forward together, the warrior shouting that the Imperial Dragon Knight is coming through. The opponent accepts the challenge with a confident smile. The battle erupts as the warrior unleashes the Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight sword technique, scale light moon break. The power of their connected wills collides in a dazzling explosion of force, signaling the fierce clash between two formidable fighters. The young warrior commands the attack, shouting the name of his technique. Scale light moon break. Mounted on the dragon, he charges forward, sword extended. The dragon roars fiercely, warning that the warrior won't even touch a finger on Raid, let alone his sword tip. The dragon soars through the sky, but the warrior grimaces as his shoulder armor cracks under an unseen force. He looks back, sensing danger closing in fast. The warrior retorts defiantly, telling Vasil he has underestimated them, claiming even 10,000 wouldn't reach them now. He acknowledges Mikazuchi's memories guiding him as he prepares to unleash the sealing technique ultimate art. Night Power God. He raises his sword, ready to activate the power. Suddenly, chains of magical energy erupt, swirling around the warrior, binding him tightly. His eyes widen in shock as the chains tighten, sealing him in place and halting his attack. The warrior on the dragon struggles as magical chains bind him, drawing Vasil into another dimension. The young man realizes the sealing technique once trapped the Demon King. He charges forward, determined not to let Vasil escape. Despite the chains tightening, the elf grits his teeth, mocking the use of petty tricks. The two clash swords, the chains absorbing magical power, but Vasil still deflects attacks despite being restricted in magic and movement. The young man notes the chain's power to absorb magic, yet Vasil fights on. The young man worries if Vasil will escape the ultimate sealing technique. knowing a second activation is impossible and Mikazuchi's power will vanish. The other dimension portal looms close, and the chains tighten further as the battle intensifies. Vasil taunts the young man, calling him a cheap imitation of Mikazuchi and questions the extent of his sealing power. The dragon warns that using breath now could break the seal. While the young man struggles to hold on, a mysterious figure laughs ominously as the two remain locked in combat before the portal. A determined young woman declares the enemy as the nemesis of her clan. Focusing her power through a glowing orb in her hands, she vows to erase him right here, unleashing a powerful attack that rushes toward two figures standing firm. One of the figures, bound by glowing chains, reacts with surprise as the young woman commands him not to interfere, calling him a mere surviving water spirit. She asserts that this water spirit is the one cornering him. The other figure grips his sword tightly, responding with a sharp command to raid, promising to handle the situation. The young man, preparing to fight, recalls the stance of his opponent, recognizing it immediately. He questions how he could be defeated after all his training to surpass even the ancient dragons. Wondering if he still hasn't reached the opponent's level, he calls out Mikazuchi's name in disbelief. The scene shifts to a spacious hall where Mikazuchi stands victorious over his opponent, who sits defeated on the floor. A bystander praises Mikazuchi for his repeated victories, noting his strength as the strongest knight of the Divine Dragon Empire and his unique ability to defeat the Demon King. Mikazuchi expresses gratitude, saying thanks to the young man, he might complete the technique needed to counter the Demon King. A determined young man thanks his opponent for the cooperation, declaring his goal is to surpass him. Their swords clash fiercely, and both fall to the ground from the impact. The scene shifts to a quiet room where a figure named Vasil stands alone, the wind blowing through the curtains. A voice asks sharply if he truly wants to defeat Mikazuchi. The young man reflects that he has just witnessed Vasil's pass through Mikazuchi's memories. Vasil's pride forbade anything else. He wanted to defeat Mikazuchi even if it meant becoming a demon. Another voice urges Vasil that he still needs more training, but Vasil angrily warns not to say those words with the same expression as Mikazuchi. The young man launches a powerful attack called Divine Dragon Empire style. Dragon Knight combat technique, Dragon-piercing awakening, aiming to break Vasil's chains and strike him down. Vasil screams in pain as the attack hits, recalling the water spirits and cat spirits he killed, along with Mikazuchi and his ancestors. The young man shouts their names with fierce resolve, driving his attack forward. A dark, swirling vortex roars as a figure's eye widens in shock. The voice commands to apologize to the fallen in the afterlife someday, emphasizing the weight of their actions. The scene shifts to a peaceful clearing where a young man stands with two swords. He reflects on an ultimate technique called Night Blade God, a powerful sealing technique that traps the target and the surrounding space. He smiles softly, thinking how without Mikazuchi's memories, he might have never known such power, calling Mikazuchi an unbelievable ancestor. The young man acknowledges that time is up, and though he has lost the power, Mikazuchi's memories remain within him. He affirms that he has inherited his clan's legacy and sealed Vasil, asking if Mikazuchi can now rest easier. A gentle smile fills the frame as the young man is praised as a remarkable young man. The final panel shows a tranquil scene by a pond where dragons and companions stand quietly, marking a solemn moment of peace and reflection. The young man realizes the swirling black vortex is an entrance to another dimension, a consequence of using the Night Blade God technique. He urges everyone to wait as he and Luna prepare to enter, apologizing to the Demon King for failing to stop raid. His eyes widen at the overwhelming magical power rivaling ancient dragons, confirming the danger ahead. A fierce group of warriors and beast-like allies gather, confirming Lord Vasil's defeat. A woman remarks on their orders to wait, fearing interference with Mikazuchi. The young man notes that the remaining 6 attendants and subordinates of the sword demon are all present, pondering if they should have come too. The young man, exhausted, admits he used almost all his magic to seal Vasil and wants to avoid fighting those who broke through the ancient dragon's encirclement. He commands raid to proceed, declaring the mission to revive the Demon King must continue despite the risks. Standing before a massive dragon, a determined woman vows to shield their group and keep enemies in check. The young man contemplates the overwhelming odds, fearing the mission to seal the Demon King may demand great sacrifices if they face so many foes. Dragons roar fiercely as they command the demons to stand down. One dragon praises the others for defeating the remaining demons and catching up, apologizing to Gerard for letting some slip by. The dragons prepare for a final push, urging everyone to attack. A group of warriors, including a cloaked figure and 2 others, express frustration at the ancient dragons. Gerard stands silently with a white dragon behind him, watching the battle unfold. Gerard mounts the white dragon, determined and apologetic as he promises to return soon. The dragon takes flight, soaring into a swirling dark vortex. With unwavering resolve, Gerard presses forward, trusting in his companions as he ventures into the unknown. Gerard rides his white dragon swiftly toward a massive chained demon. The demon's single glaring eye locks onto him, sensing a familiar blood scent. Mikazuchi's descendant, the demon snarls, demanding if Gerard intends to destroy it. The demon roars, declaring itself an almost infinite source of magical power. Gerard struggles under the overwhelming presence. Realizing this is the Demon King. Gerard steadies himself and warns the demon that threats are useless. Mikazuchi's seal remains intact, preventing it from acting freely. The demon questions Gerard's sanity, doubting he can truly destroy it. He tightens his grip on his sword, explaining that with his power, one could peer into the abyss of sorcery and rewrite the world's truth, even attain eternal life. The demon offers to make Gerard a demon like Vasil, granting eternal life and the power to fulfill any wish. Calmly, Gerard refuses, apologizing to the Demon King as he prepares to face the challenge ahead. He insists he is just a humble dragon caretaker who only wishes to live peacefully in the dragon country. Riding his white dragon, he urges Raid to move forward. The demon struggles, but the young man focuses, activating a glowing magical arrow that shoots forward with precision. The arrow strikes the demon's chest, causing it to roar in pain and recoil. The young man holds the glowing arrow firmly, preparing for the next move as the demon's rage intensifies. The demon bellows, demanding to be released immediately, calling out to Vasil in desperation. A blinding light erupts from the young man's position on the dragon, signaling the demon's defeat. Calmly, he declares that it's over. The scene shifts to a peaceful forest edge where the young man and his dragon arrive. He is greeted warmly by a group of dragons and two women, who call out to him as Lord Raid. He smiles softly, acknowledging their welcome back. Gerard is asked about the demons. He explains they screamed and shattered just before Raid returned. Though the demons vanished in a chain reaction when the Demon King disappeared due to the Holy Sword's effect, Gerard admits he failed to die and is still alive. Only those who swore absolute loyalty to the Demon King shattered with him. Eru, who had stayed on their side without fully aligning with the Demon King, was saved. Gerard expresses relief that everyone is battered but alive. Then, suggests praying at the monolith before returning to the dragon country. Suddenly, a rumbling shakes the area. Gerard urgently commands everyone to take to the sky. Dragons take flight as a dark whirlpool forms around the monolith, ominously swirling and calling out Raid's name. From within the whirlpool, a figure emerges shouting Raid's name fiercely. The last descendant of Mikazuchi, he angrily accuses Raid of daring to defy the Demon King, holding a sword dripping with dark energy. He explains that the sealing technique isolated the space to prevent anything from escaping, so Raid's actions should not have bypassed the demon-destroying protection. The descendant lunges at Raid, screaming that if only Raid didn't exist, dragons clash fiercely in the sky. But Raid notes Luna no longer has the magical power to unleash her breath, and the ancient dragon's movements have become sluggish. He realizes everyone is at their limit as the battle intensifies. Gerard tells Luna he will hold Vasil off and orders her to take everyone and leave, calling for Fae and the Sky Dragons from the Divine Dragon Empire. He warns Luna that using such great magical power is reckless and that her body and magic must be at their limit. Luna reminds Gerard that after all they've been through, he should know how she feels about him. Gerard admits he understands but refuses to let his partner die before his eyes. Luna acknowledges Gerard's resolve, agreeing that believing in him is a partner's duty. Vasil angrily questions Luna's sanity, but she commands Luna to go now and initiates the sealing technique. Dragon binding chains. Gerard urges Luna to leave immediately despite Vasil's protests. Dragons and their riders take to the sky as Gerard confronts Vasil. Noting the demon's anger, Vasil grimaces in pain, clutching his injured arm, and bitterly asks if it frustrates Gerard that he, unlike Mikazuchi, defeated the Demon King. Vasil demands more flesh to sustain himself, calling for Gerard to become his sacrifice. Gerard shouts for Vasil to come at him, but Vasil strikes, hitting Gerard hard enough to knock him back, leaving Gerard shocked and gasping. Gerard spots an opening in Vasil's side and shouts, "There!" As Vasil lunges forward with his sword. Gerard worries if Shangri-La can defend in time, but the armored man blocks the strike and declares he won't let Gerard escape. He launches a kick using the Divine Dragon Empire style, Dragon Knight combat technique. Dragon Wing Waltz, but realizes the power inherited from Mikazuchi is gone. Vasil grimaces, noting the sealing chains are draining his magic. He struggles to take down Gerard, frustrated by the young upstart's resilience. He tells Vasil he has lost humanity's strongest weapon, Vasil demands to know what Gerard means, but Gerard explains that his body, wielding Shangri-La and perfected over centuries, is not the true strongest weapon. He steps forward, ready to reveal the truth. He reflects. It's the heart. He understands now that the heart caring for others and wishing to repay them is the true weapon. He reminds Vasil that he no longer possesses that heart, the source of his strength and salvation. Gerard accuses Vasil of betraying comrades and homeland to perfect his skills by gaining demonic power at the cost of humanity's greatest weapon. The heart, Vasil is told his strength is an obsessive delusion, unable to surpass Mikazuchi. The word delusion hangs heavy as Gerard declares his long-held wish. He grips his sword, preparing to act. He demands Vasil show the strongest weapon he claims to wield. They clash swords, but Gerard only blocks the aftershock of the strike. Vasil questions why Gerard can't overwhelm him if he truly has the strongest weapon. Gerard vows to show him, warning Vasil will lose the will to revive. He activates demon-destroying protection and acknowledges Vasil's talent as an Imperial Dragon Knight, but warns his body will reach its limit first. Vasil mocks Gerard's reckless state, but Gerard insists he'll destroy Vasil with the power of the heart Vasil discarded, determined to fight until he falls. As they fall from a great height, Gerard questions why he released Re-Eden's power. Vasil asks if Gerard intends to take him down with him. Gerard's grip tightens on Vasil's collar, the tension rising as they plummet together. Vasil reveals his true plan was to wait here all along. Even weakened, still the strongest of the four heavenly kings, he mocks Gerard, saying defeating him required careful planning, laughing. He declares no human can survive a fall from this height. Gerard, falling, is reminded of the strongest weapon of humanity. The heart, that transcends species to care for one another. He asks Vasil if he has forgotten this. Suddenly, a dragon swoops in as someone calls out, "Raid!" The dragon's eye sharpens, and the rider vows never to let go again. The rider thanks Luna for saving him. Their bond clear as they prepare to fight. Gerard, still falling, questions how an ancient dragon with depleted magical power can help. The rider answers. Who said it was just Luna? Multiple dragons appear, flying in formation, announcing their arrival to aid the Imperial Dragon Knight reborn in this world. They rally to destroy the demon, showing fierce determination. The rider, glowing with power, declares now is the time to show their pride. Energy surges as they prepare to confront the demon, signaling a turning point in the battle. The demon, shocked and enraged, questions if he is truly to be defeated by the sky dragons of the Divine Dragon Empire. A powerful attack from multiple dragons descends with overwhelming force. The voice of a young man accuses the demon of abandoning Fae and the sky dragons who watched over the empire for selfish reasons. He condemns the demon as a traitor to his master and dragons. The attack culminates with a fierce declaration. Perish with the wrath of dragons as your end. As the attack fades, a figure appears, quietly acknowledging the presence of friends who understood his heart and dragon mounts. He softly utters the name Mikazuchi, reflecting on the bonds he once had. All that remains now is regret. A faint silhouette rises from a cratered ground as a voice calls out, Makadzu, Chi. Suddenly, a chorus of roaring dragons fills the air, their powerful cries echoing as they soar upward in unison. On the back of a large dragon, a bruised young man named Raid gently strokes its neck. He apologizes for his battered state but expresses gratitude. The dragon's eye reflects a deep bond as it suggests basking in their hard-won victory, leaving Raid momentarily puzzled. A group of dragons gathers, flying in formation around Raid. One dragon proclaims the battle a great achievement of its partner, Raid, and calls for everyone to proclaim his new legendary title, Raid, Dragon Tamer, Imperial Dragon Knight Raid. The dragons roar their approval in unison. The dragons, united and fierce, declare themselves the protectors of the newly born Imperial Dragon Knight. They rise powerfully into the sky, their combined presence a formidable force safeguarding their rider and heralding a new era under his protection. About 10 days later, dragons soar fiercely through the sky, their roars echoing as they protect the Imperial Dragon Knight. A young man watches in awe, realizing the weight of this protection. With the Demon King's defeat, monster activity has calmed, and peace gradually returns to the Divine Dragon Empire and neighboring lands. The dragons Luna and others have mostly healed, cared for by villagers. A cat-eared girl excitedly greets her older brother, Raid, who winces in pain. The girl urges Raid not to push himself too hard, reminding him he was bedridden just 3 days ago. She happily shares how she's been reading stories about gods, keeping herself entertained. Raid listens as she explains the differing myths between the dragon country and the cat spirit tribe, noting their shared themes. The girl hesitates, then begins recounting a story from a long time ago, an era when only gods existed. The tale unfolds over a burning landscape, with a powerful voice questioning how far one will go, as a massive claw lands heavily on the ground. A massive explosion rocks the battlefield as a winged figure wields a sword, unleashing devastating power. A confident woman with pointed ears declares that no matter how much destruction occurs, desires will eventually be fulfilled. She calls out the name demon god Nereus with a sly smile, asserting that the impossible will become reality. The woman explains that everything so far has been a setup, and if the opponent emerges, the one who adores him will have no choice but to appear as well. She reveals her old friend, the divine dragon Edelgriras, the ancestor of dragons, was the true target all along. The woman approaches, questioning why her adversary opposes her and sides with the one he protects. She states that the weak are fodder for the strong, a law they all agreed upon. Her expression turns pained as she asks why they all betrayed her. Reflecting on her old friend, the woman recalls how they realized with shame that their actions were evil and lacked love. She acknowledges that the other gods felt the same, calling it foolish to entrust the divine race's future to uncertainty. Yet, she believes that love has the power to accomplish what they could not. A radiant light pierces the sky as a powerful energy surges. A sly smile appears, signaling anticipation. The dragon roars fiercely, ready to unleash a devastating attack. The young man shouts that he has been waiting for this moment and vows not to let the dragon succeed. Shadows shift, hinting at what is to come next. A young girl solemnly declares she will stand by her child even if they perish. The young man, intrigued, asks if this is a tale about the ancient dragon's ancestors. Noting the detailed descriptions make it feel real. A woman calls out to him, questioning if he is behaving properly, ending the story abruptly. The cat-eared girl excitedly announces that Roanna and Meraria will bake catnip bread. The young man greets them warmly as they prepare to leave. Luna, a serene elf woman, asks about his injuries. He explains his recovery is progressing well thanks to her and others' care, though the divine dragon Imperial Sword remains off-limits due to magical backlash. Luna contemplates the sword in her hands, admitting she might never use it again since there are no more enemies. The young man questions why the sword, Shangri-La, is here when it was supposed to be returned to the cat spirit tribe. She explains it came from the cat spirit tribe leader Meraria and that it should be held by his descendant, the new Imperial Dragon Knight, Raid. Luna decides to keep the sword for a while, worried that Raid will push himself too hard soon. The young man understands and asks to have it back once he recovers. Acknowledging Luna is still angry about the past, he apologizes and prepares to take another nap, prompting Luna to respond quietly. She gently places the young man's head on her lap and asks, "How about this?" He looks up at her, surprised and attentive. He notices the softness beneath him and realizes it carries Luna's gentle scent, causing him to blush and stammer. Luna smiles warmly down at him, her eyes shining with affection as she softly calls his name, Raid. She insists she wants to do this for Raid, reassuring him not to worry about his legs going numb or pushing himself too hard. She reminds him that partners are always together, emphasizing their bond as he rests with his head on her lap. She smiles warmly and asks for his agreement, and he quietly confirms with a soft yeah, their connection deepening in the peaceful moment. The narration shifts as she recalls that at that time, she didn't yet know about the Mortal Kombat days ahead or the encounter that would change their fate, her expression turning serious as she reflects on the coming trials. Suddenly, Raid feels a mysterious call. Hearing a voice whispering his name, confused, he wonders who is calling him as the scene fades with the question, "Who are you?" signaling a new story beginning with this unknown summons. The morning begins with a peaceful scene of a small house and dew-covered leaves. A young man named Raid smiles, greeting the day as another good morning. A knock sounds at the door, calling his name. An elegant elf woman appears, warmly wishing him good morning and informing him that breakfast is ready. Raid, still in his pajamas, promises to get ready and join her. The narration reflects on the passage of 1 year since the battle with the demon clan, noting the slow changes in the Dragon Kingdom. Inside, a cheerful cat-eared girl greets Raid enthusiastically, carrying a basket of bread. While another girl serves drinks, Raid thanks them and offers to help with cleanup, which is politely declined. The group settles down to eat, with a baby's loud stomach growl breaking the calm. The cat-eared girl proudly declares herself the big sister of the cat spirit clan now, full of motivation. The narration explains that many from the clan have returned home to rebuild. With monster activity calming, families with infants and pregnant mothers stay safely in the Dragon Kingdom, while others with free time prepare meals. Raid reflects on the strange comfort of being cherished by his parents in this peaceful time. A woman stretches and asks for some breakfast, to which the maid agrees, mentioning it's a routine every morning. The woman protests that her portion is too small, while the narration reveals that her anger toward another, Isle, has finally lessened enough for normal conversation. The young man reflects that she once despised Isle so much she would attack on sight. The woman insists her complaint is real, but the maid dismisses it as imagination. The young man explains that today they will visit the center of the Dragon Kingdom for an important ceremony. Outside, dragons gather as the group walks toward the event. The young man notes everyone has gathered for the ceremony. A large dragon announces the start of the Dragon Vein ceremony, calling for prayers to their ancestor, the divine dragon Edel Grylis. The dragons bow solemnly, and the group stands respectfully among them. Overwhelmed by the sight, the young man contemplates the legendary divine dragon Edel Grylis, revered by all ancient dragons. He recalls that Edel Grylis fought alongside his ancestor Mikazuchi against the Demon King and was bestowed the divine dragon's holy sword, Lieden, the demonic annihilation blessing. The ceremony proceeds as the dragons prepare to offer their prayers. The young man is struck by the enormous horn displayed on a wooden platform. He realizes it must belong to the divine dragon, and if the horn is that large, the dragon's body must be far bigger than the ancient dragons. The horn is a fragment broken off during the battle with the Demon King. He learns the Dragon Vein ceremony is performed using this horn once every few centuries. Wondering how it will be used, he contemplates the significance of the relic. The horn suddenly emits a brilliant light, soaring upward into the sky. The young man watches in awe as the light ascends, illuminating the clouds. The horn's power is unmistakable, filling the air with a sacred energy. The young man explains that this is the Dragon Vein ceremony, where ancient dragons absorb vast magic from the giant magical flow running through the Dragon Kingdom, called the Dragon Veins. The dragons constantly manage magic for their survival. The ceremony activates the Dragon Veins because, once every few centuries, if the Dragon King of that generation determines the veins are weakened, this ritual restores their strength. The group watches the radiant sky, moved by the ceremony's beauty. Two dragons inform the young man, Raid, that the light has stopped but he must remain still as more is yet to come. He asks if there is more, and they confirm. The dragons explain that, just as humans sometimes receive skills from the heavens, this ceremony also bestows a final gift from the heavens. Raid understands why everyone remains still, witnessing this sacred moment with reverence. A dragon urgently commands everyone to get back as a powerful energy erupts nearby. The group watches cautiously as the ground glows intensely. The young man shields his eyes, recognizing the phenomenon unfolding before him. Amidst the radiant light, a serene girl lies unconscious, her presence stirring awe among the dragons and humans alike. One dragon calls out to Luna and Gerard, sensing something extraordinary. The dragons and onlookers whisper in amazement, sensing a powerful presence. The dragons warn not to approach the girl carelessly, acknowledging the immense magic radiating from her body. They speculate she might be something extraordinary, confirming her divine nature. The girl remains peacefully unconscious, while the dragons and humans stand watchful and respectful. The dragons reveal that this girl is a divine being, a god descending upon the Dragon Kingdom. An event unseen since the divine dragon. Questions arise about the meaning of a god's gift to the kingdom. The dragon leader asks Raid to take the girl to the Cat Spirit Clan's village for safety. Raid agrees, promising to report urgently to his superiors as the dragons watch over the divine presence. The young man calls out to Raid, but he quietly denies. A gentle touch brushes the girl's hair, and a subtle sparkle flickers in the young man's eye. Nearby, villagers chat calmly, dismissing any concerns as nothing. Inside a modest room, the girl lies peacefully in bed, with the young man and a woman sitting vigil beside her. A soft glow emanates as the woman places her hand above the girl's forehead, channeling healing energy. The woman reflects on the girl's divine nature, marveling at the immense magic she radiates. She wonders why such a being would be unconscious, especially one who fell from the sky. The young man contemplates legends of the divine, worshipped worldwide as creators with the power to shape the world and its races. He acknowledges the rarity of a divine descending upon the Dragon Kingdom as a gift, while the girl remains in peaceful slumber. The woman hopes the girl's arrival marks a peaceful descent. The young man agrees, understanding the timing. Peace has just returned to the Dragon Kingdom. Yet now a divine has suddenly appeared. He admits curiosity lingers within him about this event. Their gazes linger on the sleeping girl, both pondering the significance of her arrival. The young man recalls a dream from before, vague but filled with fragmented memories. He remembers receiving magic swordsmanship and knowledge from Mikazuchi after defeating Vasil. A fleeting image in the dream resembled the girl now before him, linking her to the mysterious woman in his vision. He realizes a fragment of Mikazuchi's personal memory had flowed into him, connecting past and present in a haunting revelation. Shock flashes across his face as he realizes the memories are from Mikazuchi. He wonders if there could be more, some karmic link or destiny continuing from Mikazuchi's time, like the Demon King and Demon Clan. The sleeping girl remains peaceful. He decides to wait and ask her what happened when she wakes. A woman recalls slacking off during the Dragon Vein ceremony and sensing an unusual power upon arriving here. The woman senses magic rivaling the Divine Dragon Emperor's sword from the girl, questioning if she is truly a relative of the Divine Dragon. The young man admits she might be a relative, but then corrects himself. The woman reflects on how rare it is for a genuine divine to descend in this era. They recall seeing the Divine Dragon's horns snap off with their own eyes, surprised it was kept in the Dragon Kingdom. They speculate the horn may be why the girl descended, as people once used items connected to gods as mediums to summon them to this world. The young man finds it strange that a different god, not the Divine Dragon, has come. The woman decides to leave the village for a while until the girl wakes. But the others warn her not to be suspicious or leave the Dragon Kingdom to do as she pleases. She insists she just wants to get away from the divine presence. Suddenly, the girl awakens with a startle, drawing shocked reactions from the group. The woman covering her face anxiously confirms the girl is awake, while the young man and another woman watch with wide eyes as the girl opens her eyes. The girl suddenly sits up, signaling that the divine has awakened. Two onlookers exchange anxious glances as she blinks, trying to gather her bearings. She asks where she is, still disoriented, while the woman beside her calmly explains that this place is the Dragon Kingdom, home to the ancient dragons. The girl repeats the name, questioning the meaning of the Dragon Kingdom. Still seated on the bed, the girl hesitantly asks what an ancient dragon is. Her confusion clear, the others remain silent, watching her carefully as she tries to understand her surroundings and the mysterious terms she has just heard. The girl asks who she is, confused and struggling with her identity. The others exchange worried glances, realizing she suffers from amnesia. She admits she doesn't know who she is and wants to start with introductions. The young man thinks silently that with her amnesia, he can't ask her anything. The young man introduces himself as Ray Dryson and points out the two women beside him as Luna and Ale. The girl confirms she is some great being, a god, or a divine race. Surprising Raid and the others, she asks what she should be called, admitting she doesn't even know her own name. Raid assures her they can communicate and tells her not to be so formal, as it makes it harder to ask questions. The girl insists she needs a name to be called until her memory returns and asks Raid if he has a good name. Raid hesitates, overwhelmed by the responsibility, but the girl eagerly waits for an answer. After some thought, Raid decides on a name, starting with Re. The girl's eyes sparkle with excitement. Raid suggests they go with Kalmia. The girl repeats the name softly, surprised and touched by it. As the group prepares to move forward together, Kalmia beams with delight at her new name, calling it wonderful and saying she likes its nice ring. The group agrees to introduce her to everyone in the Dragon Nation. And as she hears this, Vasil wonders if Mikazuchi knew her and if the name came from his memory. He questions the connection between the name, the dream he had, and why she came to the Dragon Nation. Realizing this must be her true name despite her lost memory, Vasil continues to ponder who Kalmia really is. The narration explains that after this, Kalmia made rounds of greetings in the Dragon Nation and, thanks to the Dragon King's arrangement, would stay until her memory returned. Kalmia notices a massive flow of mana underground, like a river, which normally can only be seen when drawn out by magic. Though she has forgotten her divine abilities, her eyes still perceive mana and its workings precisely. Vasil and the others observe this, wondering if this is part of the divine race's abilities. She meets a large dragon named Geralt, who introduces himself warmly and offers to give her a tour of the Dragon Nation from the sky. She happily accepts despite warnings that Geralt's flying is rough and passengers often fall. Geralt invites her to ride on his back, and the group prepares for the journey. The dragon praises Kalmia, noting she looked cute in human form but now appears gallant and slender like a proper princess. The dragon feels honored to be praised by someone of the divine race. Another dragon offers to fly alongside as Kalmia's escort. The first dragon instructs Raid to help Kalmia mount and pull her up, and Raid agrees. As Kalmia and the young man settle on the dragon's back, Raid lends Kalmia something to protect her from being cut by the dragon's scales. The dragon asks if Luna is ready, and she affirms with a smile. The young man declares they will take off. The dragon suddenly launches into flight, causing Kalmia to grimace in discomfort. Several dragons fly together through the sky. The young man asks how Kalmia is doing, and she nervously admits it's difficult. He remarks on the clear sky and the wonderful distant view, while Kalmia's eyes narrow slightly in focus. The view from above reveals a vast, deep ravine below. Kalmia clings tightly to the young man, Trembling from fear of heights, he suggests descending if she wants, but she insists she'll get used to it since he brought her all this way. The dragon reassures her not to push herself too hard as they continue flying. The dragons surge forward through the sky, their flight swift and determined. The young man cautions not to overdo it, but the dragons agree to proceed as the goddess wills. The dragon urges caution against pushing too far. Yet they press on, the young woman grips tightly, her breath quickening and her face tense with effort. She excitedly points out that she can finally look down properly, marveling at the beautiful view. The young man asks her to loosen her grip, warning that she's squeezing his stomach. She clings tightly, pressing her whole body and chest against him, intensifying his discomfort. She protests she can't loosen her hold, fearing she'll fall without his arms. He promises never to let go, but the dragon warns her not to cling so tightly. Nearby, other dragons and a girl comment on how rough the ride is for the young man. The woman suddenly sways, struggling to stay conscious. The flight ends abruptly as the young woman faints, and the young man catches her to steady her. The dragon reacts with surprise. The narration reveals that from now on, she refuses to ride with him again. The elf beside him insists it's not that bad and that if she must ride, it should be with someone else. She admits losing control of the situation, her expression softening with regret. The young man softly calls her name, surprised as she leans close beside him. She admits they haven't spent much time together lately and asks if he minds. Even in the sense of being teammates, she confesses to being a little selfish, then gently places her hand on his chest, explaining that as the princess of dragons, there's never been anything she couldn't have. She continues, her voice trembling with emotion, saying he was the only one she always wanted by her side. She wants him to feel her closest now that they're together, though she knows Calmia doesn't feel the same way. Her cheeks flush as she struggles to express her feelings. She earnestly asks if he will forgive her selfishness. The young man smiles warmly, reassuring her that it's not selfish at all. He holds her hand tightly, telling her that's exactly what partners are for, and he gladly accepts her feelings. She smiles back, gratitude shining in her eyes. They share a quiet moment together before the scene shifts to a peaceful exterior of a building, where others wave goodbye to the pair. The sky above is calm, signaling a gentle close to their heartfelt conversation. The scene opens with a quiet moment at the public bath, where the young man relaxes in the steaming water, pondering what to do tomorrow. He realizes he has finished all his work and considers showing Calmia around outside the Dragon Nation. His thoughts are interrupted by a sudden realization, and he smiles softly. Suddenly, a sense of déjà vu strikes him as Calmia appears nearby, unaware of the bathhouse rules. She admits she can't read the sign at the entrance and explains she came because the catfolk told her this place feels good when you warm up. She copied him by taking off her clothes, unaware of the social norms. The young man nervously calls her name, confused by her behavior. He internally debates that even if Calmia is amnesiac, she shouldn't lack such basic common sense, though he admits he doesn't fully understand what common sense means for the divine race. He advises her to rinse lightly with the bucket before entering, explaining that hot springs are usually separated by gender. Calmia protests, worried it wouldn't be fair if he leaves first, but he insists she take her time soaking. Calmia responds seriously, reminding him she has always relied on his common sense and warns that if he starts saying strange things again, it will be troubling. The young man reflects that the current situation is unusual but is glad she is still willing to teach him. As he relaxes again in the water, Calmia suddenly splashes herself with hot water, exclaiming in surprise while he remains calm, hoping no one else finds out about this odd bath situation. She quietly asks if she really lived in the heavens, and he assures her there are legends about it everywhere, saying she fell from the sky. She wonders what kind of place it was, asking what home is like for him. He reflects that although she acts cheerful, losing her memory must make her anxious. He explains his parents are gone and he has little attachment to the country itself, but the sky dragons are definitely family. Wherever they are is important to him. She realizes home is where family is, and asks if the Dragon Nation is also his home. He confirms warmly, recalling how they accepted him when he was cast out and shared many memories together. He loves the Dragon Nation and thinks of it as home too. She smiles brightly, calling that wonderful. He admits saying love might sound too grand but affirms that he loves everyone and everyone loves him. They exchange shy, surprised looks at the weight of those words. He reflects on realizing there are many kinds of like and love. He hopes his homeland is as wonderful as the Dragon Nation and encourages her to make this place her home too. Whether her memory returns or not, she should get to know the Dragon Nation more until she can think of it as home. He assures her everyone will welcome her. As they are all good people and dragons, she quietly acknowledges this, touched by his words. She smiles warmly, calling the idea truly wonderful. She eagerly asks him to show her around more tomorrow, including places outside the Dragon Nation. He assures her to leave it to him, and she thinks to herself that she will get to know and love the Dragon Nation more and more. They relax together in the hot spring under the night sky. A narration reveals that later Luna found out about the mixed bathing and got mad. Despite feeling anxious, she decides to enjoy this peaceful moment for now. Sitting alone on ancient stone steps beneath a dark sky, a figure with pointed ears opens her eyes and smiles softly. She speaks, acknowledging the arrival of someone at last, declaring that the time to decide the fate of their divine tribe has come. Her gaze sharpens as she whispers that she has found them. She points forward, causing dark liquid to spread across the ground. From the shadows, armored figures emerge, their presence ominous. She explains that these are her own obedient servants, a new race she created, closer to the gods than any human, answering only to her as the demon god. Addressing the gathered figures, she names herself Dark Angel and commands them in the name of the demon god Norlarus, ruler of all demons. She orders them to go to the land where the descendants of the holy dragon dwell and retrieve the god who has taken refuge there. She grants them permission to annihilate anyone who stands in their way, even a god, and promises to bestow a portion of her power upon them. A sly smile crosses her lips as she turns away, walking toward a ruined archway. She grimaces in pain, questioning if this is her limit despite remaining completely still. Yet, she finds meaning in the struggle, believing that the difficulty makes achieving her goal all the more worthwhile. Dark Angel, holding her staff, smiles confidently and asks if they shall go. As her shadowy armored servants take flight behind her, the sky and mountains stretch wide, while Geralt and others follow from the forest. Suddenly, a startled shout breaks the calm. Calmia mischievously grabs the tail of a demon girl named Ale, who protests with embarrassment. Nearby, a man and woman comment on Calmia's fascination with Ale. Noting she's been like this since breakfast, they decide to rest at a beautiful lake ahead, following Geralt's suggestion during their tour near the Dragon Nation. Arriving at the lake, an elf woman notices strange footprints and murky water, signaling recent disturbance. The man senses danger, warning everyone to get away from the lake immediately. Suddenly, a massive splash erupts as a kelpie bursts from the water, roaring fiercely. The group recoils in shock, the man recognizing the creature and shouting a warning as the kelpie thrashes violently. The man notices the kelpie's belly is unnaturally swollen and realizes it came to this place to give birth. The fallen trees and murky water were signs of its rampage. Agitated just before labor, the kelpie thrashes violently, splashing water everywhere. The dragons flying above caution against getting too rough with the young ladies present. The man asks the dragon named Raid if he can use sealing art to stop the kelpie, and Raid agrees to try. He casts sealing art, dragon binding chains, wrapping the kelpie in magical chains as it screams in defiance. The man marvels at the kelpie's power, still controlling the water despite the sealing art. He recalls that kelpies have caused floods during territorial disputes with other monsters and worries about the disaster if this happens in the Dragon Nation. He urges Raid and Luna to be careful, knowing the breath of an ancient dragon is immensely powerful and could deal a direct hit to the kelpie. A young woman pleads to talk to the kelpie, insisting the creature is just scared, despite doubts about how she could communicate with it. She believes she can talk to the kelpie and asks to be the one to persuade it. Her determined expression shows her resolve as the kelpie watches silently. The man urges Luna to trust Calmia for now, believing Calmia might communicate with monsters due to her divine tribe heritage. He acknowledges the danger of putting Calmia in front of the kelpie, risking her being crushed, but promises to rescue her instantly if needed. Calmia is told to hold still briefly as the man prepares to cast sealing art, serpent binding chains. She asks what he plans to do, surprised by the sudden action. Calmia protests, shocked that she wasn't warned about this plan, demanding if there is another way. The man insists this is the best way to guarantee her safety, despite it being rough. A woman points out the risk of using a daughter of the divine tribe as bait, but the man reassures that they will pull her back the moment it becomes dangerous. Calmia is shown suspended by chains, struggling as the dragon flies above. The kelpie roars fiercely, and Calmia nervously greets it, trying to calm the situation. She admits she would be upset if tied up like this too. The man apologizes for restraining the kelpie suddenly but asks it to calm down, assuring no intention to harm it unnecessarily. The kelpie's expression softens slightly as Calmia speaks gently. The kelpie senses something familiar, its eyes widening in recognition. Calmia reassures it that no one nearby wishes to harm it. The kelpie slowly sits down, still chained but calmer. Calmia encourages it to stay seated while she waves at the flying dragons overhead, signaling them. The kelpie lets out a startled cry but remains seated, the tension easing as Calmia maintains a gentle presence. The chains fall away as Calmia steps forward, her foot landing firmly. A man asks if it's safe now, and she confirms it is. She explains that the mother monster traveled far to give birth and doesn't want to be disturbed, her voice reaching the creature's heart. The man marvels at Kalmia's ability to read a monster's heart, wondering if it's the divine tribe's power. Kalmia senses a shift in magical energy and asks what's wrong. The mother monster stirs, signaling the birth is near. They decide to give the creature space. Kalmia watches intently as the mother monster gently nudges her newborn, the small creature trembling but alive. The scene shifts to the peaceful surroundings where the mother and child rest, the newborn taking tentative steps beside its parent. She affirms that even feared monsters have feelings and are living beings like humans. She asks Luna to keep the ancient dragons away while the mother and child stay at the lake. Luna agrees, and the man thanks her before suggesting they return to the Dragon Nation. Kalmia notices someone approaching and calls out, "Raid!" Kalmia wonders if her parents are kind to her, reflecting on the mother Kelpie and how fiercely she would defend her child if it were taken. She questions why the divine tribe hasn't found her yet, despite their power. She reveals she was cast down from the celestial realm and wonders if her parents are still desperately searching for her. The man listens thoughtfully, calling her name softly. He admits the exact circumstances of her arrival at the Dragon Nation are unknown, and whether the divine tribe's power could find her is uncertain. He explains that when she arrived, she was like a falling star, unconscious but saved by someone using magic to slow her descent. That immense power could only come from someone who cares deeply for her. Kalmia smiles softly, glad to hear this. The scene shifts to 3 months later, showing Kalmia and 2 companions catching their breath after training. One urges Kalmia to build up her stamina. She reflects that although she has adapted to life in the Dragon Nation, her memories have yet to return. She acknowledges Raid's efforts to search for information in the Holy Dragon Empire but notes the danger of being found by the Emperor. Seeing the baby monster growing safely brings her relief, especially when the child smiles at her. She resolves to think positively, accepting that her good memories won't return, nor will the bad ones. A friend asks if seeing the Kelpie's child grow up brings happiness as a fellow water spirit. She hesitates, admitting uncertainty because monsters destroyed her homeland, so she isn't fond of them. Still, she believes it's good for any child to grow, regardless of race. Another friend agrees, adding the baby is adorable. They decide it's time to head back before the rain starts, and one suggests racing home, the others agree. But Kalmia feels nervous under their expectant gazes. Suddenly, a horse neighs loudly, startling them. Alarmed, they all sense something ominous approaching. Kalmia wonders what the feeling is, while her companions express a bad premonition. The elf readies a flaming bow, determined to confront whatever appears. Dark, dripping shadows fall ominously as Kalmia recalls that the demons who once raided, including Ale, were monsters with magical power rivaling ancient dragons. She insists such beings can't be wandering freely. Yet a massive black wing flaps nearby, confirming the threat's presence. The winged armored figures fill the sky, their magical power rivaling or surpassing that of ancient dragons. The group wonders if they are targeting the mother Kelpie and her child. But their strange lack of attack movements puzzles them. The cat-eared girl detects a foul scent emanating from these beings, realizing it comes from people, not monsters. A dark armored figure draws a sword, declaring they are targeting the group. Kalmia and her companions brace themselves as the dark angels launch forward with deadly speed. The cat-eared girl warns that the dark angels are coming for Karua. A dark mist looms ominously, radiating immense magical power. Alarmed, the young man orders everyone to evacuate and warns others to spread the word. He instructs a group to inform the Dragon King and rush to the scene. He reveals that Lady Kalmia and the others entered the forest but have yet to return. Determined, he dashes off, realizing all 3 are still missing. The dark angels swoop in at deadly speed, their black wings cutting through the air. One of the girls desperately wishes for their safety as the shadowy figure approaches. The youngest girl grips her magic, preparing to defend. The dark angel surges forward, launching a barrage of attacks. The dark angel relentlessly charges, sword aimed, forcing the girls to react in shock and fear. One urgently calls out to Roanna, who summons a glowing orb of magic. The girls brace themselves as the dark angel closes in, their tension mounting. The dark angel strikes, but Roanna counters with a powerful magical blast, pushing the attacker back. The impact causes the girls to stumble and fall into water. Kalmia cries out in alarm, recognizing the threat. The dark angel advances steadily, undeterred, as the girls struggle to regroup. Fear grips the girls as the dark figure looms nearby. One struggles to move despite wanting to help. Frozen in terror, doubt creeps in. Are they doomed without understanding what's happening? Yet, a quiet resolve surfaces. Milphie hasn't lost yet. The younger girl explains Milphie's silent determination to protect the Dragon Nation. Treating it like a lost homeland, she trains relentlessly, unwilling to lose this place or her companions again. Confidence grows as she affirms Milphie will be all right, calling out to her. Milphie pushes herself beyond exhaustion. Refusing to give up, she draws strength from her home and those she cherishes, summoning her willpower to fight on. Encouraged, the others cheer her on, believing in her resilience. Milphie unleashes a powerful command, summoning a fierce, fiery dragon to her side. The dragon roars defiantly, ready to shield her and the others from the dark angels descending from above. She swears to protect everyone dear to her as the battle intensifies. Dark angels dive swiftly from the sky, their forms cutting through the air. A fierce dragon roars, unleashing a torrent of water in defense. Milphie's determination shines through as a voice praises her, declaring she can win at this rate. A sinister figure smirks, dismissing the attack as a mere magic trick. Milphie stands firm, commanding the water to rise and crash with overwhelming force. Nearby, a young elf watches in awe as rain begins to fall. Kneeling in disbelief, the elf admits it's impossible for a surface dweller to control so much water. The dark angels hover ominously above, acknowledging Milphie's skill. She senses something unsettling, focusing her magical senses to perceive the flow of energy. A shadowy silhouette emerges, described as an unfathomable darkness, an absolute being mimicking human form with the stench of death. The figure questions if Milphie is from the divine tribe, while Milphie wonders if this powerful entity could be the source of the threat. The shadowy figure chuckles, surprised to be asked if he belongs to the divine tribe. He confirms with a smile that he is indeed one of them, just like Milphie. He suggests they continue their conversation in a more suitable place, inviting her to talk in the celestial realm. Milphie shouts fiercely that she won't let him take her home or friends away again. She charges forward, but the figure swiftly swings his spear. Milphie's companion yells a warning to stop her. She braces herself as the spear slices through the air, water splashing around her. Her friends watch in shock, trembling as they stand frozen. The figure apologizes quietly, while Milphie's eyes widen in disbelief. A desperate shout calls out Milphie's name as she grips her sword tightly. The sword's blade trembles in her hands, and she looks back with a mix of determination and fear. It is clear she risked her life to protect her friends. The young man raises his glowing sword with fierce resolve, declaring it's his turn to protect everyone and demanding the attacker get away from Milphie. Milphie calls out, "Raid!" in alarm, while the dark-haired woman gasps, recognizing the sword. A swarm of winged enemies approaches swiftly, prompting Milphie to shout that help has arrived. She orders Calmia and Roanna to escape immediately. The young man charges at the attackers riding a dragon. Telling them to leave the others to him, he questions if it's wise to look away from the fight. The dark-haired figure swiftly blocks the young man's sword with a spear, forcing him back. The young man looks shocked but determined, sweat beading on his face as the clash intensifies. The young man notices his sword glowing and wonders why. The dark figure explains the sword's demon-slaying blessing activates against members of the demon tribe, revealing himself as Norlerus, the demon god. The young man asks if he is truly the god of the demonic tribe, and Norlerus confirms with a confident smile. The dark figure notes the sword is imbued with the power of the holy dragon Edel Grylas, expressing surprise at confronting such power but reminds the young man that he is only human. The young man questions the term Lord God. While the figure muses on why their Lord God entrusted that child to someone like him, a statue of the Lord God, the goddess Triteria, the sovereign ruler of the gods recognized worldwide, is shown. The young man deduces that if Norlerus is targeting Lady Calmia and his words are true, then the Lord God must have sent her to the Dragon Nation from the start to help her escape Norlerus. The dark figure confirms he has no intention of letting the young man escape either. Addressing him as Raidryson, hero of Demon King slaying and the Dragon Knight, he acknowledges knowing him well, thanks to Raid's past subjugation of the Demon King, and admits being in a difficult position due to various circumstances. Raid questions what those circumstances are. Norlerus, standing amid a fiery, cracked battlefield, declines to explain further, saying he lacks the time. Raid senses overwhelming pressure and realizes that holding back will lead to his annihilation. He resolves to activate his secret technique, Yato no Kami, but only once, hoping to create an opening, even if just for an instant. As a dragon roars and Norlerus raises his spear defensively, Raid shouts "Now!" and begins chanting the sealing art secret technique, Yato no Kami. He swings his sword in a swift, decisive motion, preparing to strike as the technique activates around him. Norlerus calmly places a hand on Raid's shoulder, telling him honestly that a mere dragon tamer shouldn't strain himself so hard. He leans in close, explaining that if killing a god were possible with an attack of this level, humanity would have claimed the throne of the gods long ago. Raid struggles, shocked and confused, realizing the movement wasn't just fast but seemed as if Norlerus had been standing there from the start. Raid grips his sword tighter, declaring he's not done yet and invoking the piercing dragon shield technique. He recalls growing stronger all this time and launches into the Holy Dragon Empire-style Dragon Knight combat arts. Dragon Wing Waltz, determined to protect everyone. Norlerus catches Raid's sword mid-swing with a confident smile, surprising Raid. He tells Raid he still has to go after the child and that he's played around enough for now, gripping Raid's arm firmly as the confrontation intensifies. The scene continues. The scene continues. The scene continues. The scene continues.